The identity of a certain individual named in this episode has been removed. All TCGS listeners are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with Sean Bell.
Hello.
Matt Murray.
Hello.
And James Farley.
Hello.
It's the big one.
Are we all really nervous?
I am actually quite tense. Like, really quite tense. Yeah.
It's weird. I've been thinking about it all day and I just don't know how. I think my nerves are, I don't know how long this is going to be.
Well, yeah, because how long have the previous ones been?
Well, I don't know. I know that the first one was only like around 2 hours.
Okay.
But I think last year's one might have been closer to 4.
Oh, fuck.
It was long. It was a long one.
And this year we've got things to resolve before we even get into the.
We have. And before we go any further, we'd like to thank our Patreon producers who have kept the show ticket. Who's fucking around with drinks?
It's me. I'm just opening my drink.
Well, you mute for things that we want to hear. And...
No, you told me. You told me the other week not to do that anymore, so I'm not doing it. If you want to,
I told you to not forget. No, I told you not to forget that you were on mute, James. There's a difference, right?
Well, I'm not. I'm not muting anything anymore. You're getting the full thing. You know.
Oh, maybe do this before. Right, okay. The ones that went full Nels this month: Alan M. Nash, Aaron Patrick, Simon Nelson, Anthony Oakenson, Tom S, and Toby Henry. Thank you so much for going full Nels, the full Nels crew, and thanks to everyone that supported us on Patreon this year. It's kept us ticking by. It's paid for things that usually come out of our own pocket, and remember, if you don't sign up to Patreon, we'll fucking stop. Right.
I mean, it's worth pointing out as well, like this month we've had like loads of new patrons, haven't we? Which has been really nice.
It's absolutely fantastic.
I don't know if that's
really appreciate
like tipping the postman at Christmas and they're all going to cancel at the end of the month, but either way, it's much appreciated.
Very possibly. If this is your first TCGS Game of the Year show that you're hearing, then this is how it works. 16 games go into a hat. They get pulled out against each other, so it could be Mario Maker 2 versus Outer Wilds, for example. The person that nominated that game explains why it's on the list and what they like so much about it. And then after we've talked about the games for a bit, we then have to vote. For a game to get to the next round, it needs at least 3 votes. There's 4 of us. It's hard to get 3 votes. If we reach a stalemate with 2 votes each, that's when the bartering, the arguing, and everything else begins. There was a rule change this year. Instead of a listener's choice game, we had wildcards, and the listeners got to vote on which one of our wildcards. Matt, I think it's probably best for you to explain what happened over our wildcard vote that went up on Thursday and seemed to go crazy. I mean,
do we need to tell the whole story from the start for people who aren't on Twitter like that much? Because this was a whole saga, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Before the vote even went up.
Yeah. I mean, so there were campaign videos going up the night before. Sean, do you want to explain?
So first off, Dave did one basically. So you were just begging people not to vote for Sekiro, right? That's
right. I thought Matt's vote from Sekiro was
it's disgraceful,
ploy to. Well, he knew that a certain subsection of our listeners adore that game, and that's why he chose it as his wild card.
Well, I mean, I also adore that game, so
yeah.
You're three bosses in, and you constantly look like you hate it, but
that's my concentrating face.
Are you telling me that wasn't your thought process when you nominated it?
No, definitely not. No, I was just
Matt, come on, be honest with us, mate. You know that was your thought process.
No, I just thought about other games I've played I've enjoyed, and Sekiro's
rubbish. Utter rubbish.
Total bollocks. Total bollocks. Okay.
So then James did a video, basically again having a go at Matt and asking everyone to vote for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order instead, which I took issue with because before last week's draft episode, I arranged with Farley that I would let him have Fire Emblem, because I really liked it, but I knew he was struggling to get enough games together for his 5 picks. And he said, yeah, that'd be great, thank you. So not only did he put it as his wild card, but he then told everyone not to vote for it. So...
James, that is insane. Because you love that game, right? You liked that game, Fire Emblem, didn't you?
I liked it, yeah. I definitely liked it.
So then why did you put it as your wild card?
Well, okay. The reason is because this is all tactical, you see, and I don't know, am I supposed to reveal this now or not? I'm not sure.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's not going to ruin anything, is it?
No, because it could do later on, depending on what happens later. Look, there's reasons why, and I will explain why later after we've concluded this process.
I mean, it may have been the right decision, but we'll get to that.
It just sounds like James Farley, screwing up another, opportunity like last year where he suggested Detroit.
Let's see, because you say that, but to me, it just seems really vicious. You know what I mean? Like, Sean's just gone, look, I know you're struggling, mate. Here's one of the games that I definitely wanted on the list, but you should use it because, it'll help you out. And then James just put it as a wild card. That is some dark shit.
Never mind the fact that, obviously the implication is that when it comes up, I am batting for it as well. So he's essentially got free help with the game. And now and then he just left me twisted in the wind. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, James reckons he's got a reason. That'll be interesting. Go on. So the poll goes up, right?
In amongst this, one of our listeners, Oodles, did a poll about who does everyone think is the most trustworthy host, which I won, which is very kind of everyone. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. I think it's just because I've never really tried to deceive anyone just because I'm no good at it, but whatever. Apart from the whole F-Zero night run
you don't
thing,
know Sean like I do.
I'm just so bloody honest.
No, you don't know Sean like I do. He's a fucking liar. He's just straight up liar.
And then the poll went live, and there was
wasn't it? It was quite close.
Yeah, there was a token bit of support for Black Future 88, which was very, very, very kind of people to do that. It wasn't really necessary, but and then basically Fire Emblem was in the lead, right? And then closely followed by Star Wars, and Sekiro was in third place or second place. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's third. Yeah, at that point it was like I think Black Future had 8 or 10% of the vote, and all the others were around 30. I think Fire Emblem had maybe 33. It was Jedi was maybe 28, and then Sekiro was just behind that. So it was fairly conclusive, really, that there's one game lagging and 3.
Yeah. Which I expected, I acknowledged when I did that video. I was like, I shouldn't have put Black Future as a wild card. That was a silly decision. It was never going to win on a vote. Except, so was this Friday or Saturday? It just suddenly exploded. Friday, yeah. Suddenly, Black Future got about over 1,000 votes.
It got around 1,500 votes in the space of an hour.
No, it's 1,000 in 10 minutes, wasn't it? Like, to begin with.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm talking about over the course of an hour, so it
which is
got more after.
Really, obviously, massively suspicious.
And there's also that account that's got all those what look like Russian bots attached to it as well.
So we'll get to that. Get to that.
Yeah. So obviously I've been accused of doing this because it was my game.
Well,
and obviously,
you say that, Sean. Obviously people were like, "This is crazy," and yet it's Sean's game suddenly with thousands of votes, seemingly out of nowhere, and yet I was the one getting all the abuse saying this is definitely a Matt Murray job. I was like,
it does feel like
why would I? Sean's game would surely be the last one I would choose.
I do feel like jokes that cost money is kind of your thing, Matt.
I do like a paid for gag, sure, but this just isn't a funny joke.
It is almost like it was. The stuff with the videos was very funny, and it's a bit like wrestling, wasn't it? It was all, stuff coming out and rivalries building up before the show.
I was very serious in my video.
Okay. And then suddenly this was like, oh no, but I don't think we would have done this. This is like maybe a step too far.
I don't know. It still felt like it had Matt's fingers all over it. Like the whole thing has felt like that.
Explain especially how or why I would have done this.
Okay, well no. You see, I think you were trying to get the whole thing cancelled because you were losing so badly. That was one thing.
But I wasn't. Sekiro, Fire Emblem, and Fallen Order all sort of in around 30s, and
Rubbish.
Black Future was like more than 8%. Why would I do this?
Sekiro was doing quite badly, and I think you were like, "Oh, I need to bin this off. It's not working for me." And then the other reason
let's just invalidate the whole thing.
The other reason I thought it might have been you, Matt, is because all of the there's that new account that's like sprung up, and it was doing like strategically placed tweets of like what was going on, and that's very Matt Murray. That is,
it's too obvious for Matt though. It's not
it's very Matt
writes tweets for a living. Like he wouldn't have been as obvious. So this Twitter account that surfaced, there's now a Black Future 88 Twitter account. That is not verified and has about 80 followers. All of them appear to be Russian and have lots of numbers in their Twitter handles. So unless Matt is in league with the Russians, which I'm not ruling out,
he paid someone, didn't he?
I think there's another entity at work here that is nothing to do with any of us. That's my personal take on it. Yeah. But I mean, Dave, you said you've investigated this.
Yeah, no, I was only doing that to see what Matt's reaction would be like. And the thing was, right? Okay, so here's my thoughts on who it might have been.
Okay.
Initially, I thought it was Matt.
Okay.
I just thought it was Matt, and because when it first came out, Matt, you were so active in the WhatsApp group going, this has ruined it. This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. And I thought, this is really suspicious.
He's testing the water to see how we're reacting. Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought, I am now in a position where I don't think it's Matt.
Yeah.
I think, I don't think it is him. I think it is someone trying to get involved and have a laugh. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% convinced that no one knows who it is, though.
What, you mean
I think it might be a friend of someone in the show.
Okay.
And I don't think that is the case.
I have my suspicions, but I don't know if we can.
Go on then. Because you were the other one. You were the one that's saying I've got evidence now.
Well, I've got more. It's not evidence, but it's like things.
Okay, Matt. Let's hear
more
what
suspicions.
Go on.
Yes. I mean, is it right? I can just oust a listener on the pod.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can't say it was definitely them unless you know it's definitely them. But you could talk about your suspicions.
Yeah, but it's like innocent until proven guilty. It might destroy someone's career and life.
No, we're past all that nowadays, Matt. Go on, get on with it.
We are. Well, I've also been investigating. There were a few suspects in my eyes. It could be. I mean, it wasn't myself. I didn't actually think it was any of us, frankly, because I think we would have done it a lot better than this.
I wouldn't know what the fuck I was doing. Matt, was it you?
No, of course it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
You absolutely promised, right? You promised.
I absolutely promised. 100% it wasn't me. I mean, I'm serious when I said that I feel like it's to totally fuck the whole thing, because it's just annoying. It's like, oh, so now we got this. Like, anyway,
because my personal feelings are like, if someone spent money on getting these votes, like that could have gone to charity or something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. But I don't know. But you said about anything, like you don't need to buy that game because it's gone to give it to charity.
I don't know.
And also, I'm afraid these things are like dirt cheap. Anyway,
how do you know that, Matt?
Because someone posted a picture on Twitter saying, "Oh, Matt, is this that DM you sent me?" And it had like prices of like bot for votes and stuff.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was maybe Deadbeat Punk, maybe someone else. They're like, "Oh, is this that website you told me about, Sean, or something?" Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Right, okay, come on, let's get on with it. Go on.
Well, after my investigations, I think the culprit is
right. Why?
Well, I had suspicions anyway, and then earlier today,
based on what?
I just had suspicions.
Okay.
Well, I'll come to why in a minute. And then on today, I was trying to find the exact line from that was said. Basically, other people also suggested it could be, and then he said. Now, weeks or months ago, I had looked at a tweet for. All those are random Russian accounts with weird numbers on the end.
So he's already dabbled.
This sounds pretty conclusive.
So one,
the black arts.
That definitely was like boosted with like paid for bots. Then he said, "Boy, also
he
definitely has."
Yeah.
So I think he's trying to pull the wool over our eyes there, mug us off left, right, and centre without us actually realising that we've actually looked for the. So he's got previous. He's he's right in the thick of the community. Thing is untouchable. And so, therefore, I think it was.
It's a hell of an accusation.
It could be anyone.
So I'd like to know if that honesty poll was also like bots as well.
No, I think you'll find that's completely legitimate, James. Well, that's the thing. When the votes started coming in for Black Future, I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna be as popular now because I've I won that other vote, and now that's going to be in the bin as well. But, yeah.
So now that's all out there. Yeah. We need to decide what to do because the poll. I mean, is a mess.
There's only one answer, right?
I refuse. I refuse to recognise this. There's no way I'm recognising.
Okay, hold on. Let's all calm down. There's one. I mean, you guys can decide what game out of the 4 between you goes in. There's one rule that I'm definitely putting in place, and it's not up for discussion. Yeah. There's no immunity.
Okay.
All 16 games are up because no one can get immunity off of the back of this.
Yeah.
But I came into this episode thinking Black Future 88. Let's just let it in because it won the poll.
No chance.
Nah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Listen.
There's no way that's
happening. No. Listen. Let me fucking finish.
Go on.
That was what I came into it thinking. Yeah. But actually, I'm not sure that that's the right decision. Mm-hmm. But one thing's for certain: none of us should get immunity. I think that's gone. Yeah. Because this hasn't been a fair vote. Yeah. So the 3 of you now, I'll leave it up to you to decide which game goes through.
Yeah. Why?
I mean, my thinking was that we just discount
because it feels like I'll tell you why, James. And genuinely, this is my thought process. I am definitely imposing that rule, right? So that's my bit done. It's not that I'm trying to. James, if you want me to give my opinion on what game should go through, then I'll give it. But what I'm saying, I don't think it's fair for me to impose that rule and then help you decide what game goes through. So I was sort of handing the reins over to you to let you guys decide. But if you want me involved in the discussion, then I'll be involved.
Are we accepting this rule though? Why are we accepting this imposition of a rule?
Yes, we're accepting the rule. Yes, we are.
Why?
Because this is my fucking format, and I'm not having you try and take it off me. Are we accepting the rule that we put these games up against each other and vote on which one goes through?
I think this new thing about no immunity. I think we should agree with it. I don't remember you
questioning that when you were a fucking nobody. So why now are you questioning my authority?
Oh, wow, great ref, Dave.
Very cool.
Cartman is really funny.
I know they killed Kenny.
Got him. So what do you reckon? What game do you reckon should go through?
I mean, to me, it seems obvious that we should just discount Black Future 88 and then go with what votes remain.
Okay, if that's what you want to do, then it's gone. I feel sorry for Black Future 88 because I genuinely don't think that the developers or the publishers were behind this at all. And it stinks a bit that their game... I mean, I suppose it wasn't going to get in anyway before the vote went crazy. But... Yeah, okay, so Black Future 88 is now screwed up and gone.
Yeah, it has to go, unfortunately. I mean, if it was maybe neck and neck between all those 4 and then something happened, maybe that might change. But the fact it was also like, it was dead last and then this happened. So I just can't take that.
If it was close and then one of them got bots voting for it, then I wouldn't know what to do. But when it was so clearly in last place,
I've just realised why James was kicking off about that no immunity.
Yeah, because he was hoping to get immunity.
It's clear that Fire Emblem is the one that's going to go through, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right. Fire Emblem is in. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Sekiro are out. Yeah, that's why you were kicking off. I thought it was a bit weird. I thought you wouldn't give a shit about that because that seems like quite a fair thing to do. Mm-hmm. But...
You caught me, yeah.
I suppose... James, my mindset was not on because I genuinely didn't know which game should go through. I genuinely didn't have a thought process on what game was going to go through. So that's why I wanted to put that rule into place. But looking at it now, if that was the obvious choice for you, and I'm going, no immunity, yeah, that sounds like a personal attack, but I promise it wasn't. Like, it could have been any of those games, really.
Yep.
Okay, so Fire Emblem Three Houses is in the hat. These are the 16 games that are currently...
Well, no, we've got 17 now, haven't we? So we need to get rid of one.
Yeah. Yes, I'm going to run through the 16 that we haven't mentioned, and then we got to swap Fire Emblem in for something. So in no particular order, I've got Mario Maker 2, Tetris 99, Luigi's Mansion 3, Untitled Goose Game, Gears 5, Disco Elysium, Life is Strange 2, Outer Wilds, Sayonara Wild Hearts, The Walking Dead, Heave Ho, Ape Out. Is it A Plague's Tale?
A Plague Tale, single plague.
A Plague Tale, which is what I've written down, but it didn't sound right. Judgment, Resident Evil 2, and Gris. Right, so let's get this out of the way. I think Disco Elysium is in. You've been really passionate about that.
Definitely, yeah.
I think Resident Evil 2 should probably be in.
Agreed.
People do love it. Yeah, I don't think have any of us played it.
Well,
apart
it's
from that?
more that. Well, yeah, but it was a big part of.
Yeah. And it's very substantial as a remake as well. It like changes quite a lot of things fundamentally. I don't think there's any question of like, we obviously we'd had that discussion.
Life is Strange 2's in.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not a question. The Outer Wilds is in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a lot of passion for that game. Luigi's Mansion 3 is in.
Yep.
Again, a lot of passion for that game. Now we're getting. This is interesting.
That's one of my games, have you?
I mean, Heave Ho's probably in, right? There's two people that really like Heave Ho.
I mean, I would say that, but yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, the ones that here's what I've got in front of me, and this is not, if you hear one that should definitely be in, let me know. Mario Maker 2, Tetris 99, Untitled Goose Game, Gears 5, Sayonara Wild Hearts, The Walking Dead, Gris, Judgment,
Sure.
A Plague Tale, and Ape Out.
I mean, does
anything stick out?
Walking Dead for me. I'm sorry, James.
That's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
Just because you haven't played it. You haven't played it. Should I just
I know.
okay, whatever you've chosen, okay, I don't want that one. I'm not interested in that.
I think like The Walking Dead sticks out a little bit for me, and I'm not saying that should go, James. But the reason why it sticks out for me is that there wasn't that much buzz around it, and it's kind of the reason why we ditched
it. And there was the whole thing with the studio getting closed down and everything.
I was going to say only about the controversy around it.
I mean good buzz, James.
No, there was good buzz because of the fact that they, even though the studio closed down and everything, they still managed to put this out and have like a really satisfying conclusion to it. And it's a really interesting thing to look at when compared with Life is Strange 2.
I was going to say, because although I'm with Dave on the lack of buzz thing, but we can't really say that when we've been screaming at everyone to play Life is Strange 2 all year because no one seems to be paying attention to it. And we all agree that should be on the list. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Like that's been a blind spot for so many people. So
is The Walking Dead in?
Yeah.
Listen. All right, let's put that in a maybe poll. Mario Maker 2, I think that's probably in, right?
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Tetris 99 should be in as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Untitled Goose Game.
Do you know, I never finished it, but that's on me. That's not the game's fault. It's clearly very good.
I feel like it needs to be there in a conversation. For sure.
Okay.
This will get me shouted at by some people. I want to address this because I feel like it's going to end up being discussed anyway. Does Sayonara Wild Hearts need to be discussed here? Because I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that loved it.
I thought it was.
I actively disliked
it. I played it and really, really enjoyed it.
I thought it was all right. So I wouldn't care if it's gone.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, that's in the maybe pile. Judgment should go in.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
James was a big fan of that game. Grease should go in because I mean. Sean was a huge fan of that. Ape Out, I actively disliked.
I thought Ape Out was because I played a bit of Ape Out. I thought it was cool, but like played it for half an hour and then had no urge to buy it myself.
Matt,
I mean, I played it and
you hate played it, didn't you, Matt?
Well, yeah, I hate got through it. Yeah.
What's that mean? What, like Sekiro?
Yeah, exactly. This is why it's one of Matt's Game of the Years. You see. I know he wasn't doing it on camera.
Ape Out sounds like it's in it. Gears 5. Now I liked what I played. I didn't play much of it, but I did like what I played.
Yeah, it's an excellent game. Gears 5.
Yeah, so I didn't get around to playing it, but heard lots of good things. And from people who are very jaded on Gears in general. So
okay, Gears is in. A Plague Tale.
Again, heard brilliant things.
Yeah, it's such a hidden gem. It's a shame more people haven't played it.
So Ape Out, The Walking Dead, and Sayonara Wild Hearts are the last three in front of me. I think James.
Two of them are mine. I wonder how that happened.
What would you rather? No, I know. What would you rather have in The Walking Dead or Ape Out?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if it's really down to it, then I'd rather have The Walking Dead over Ape Out. I could,
Okay.
yeah.
So then you've got Sayonara Wild Hearts and Ape Out. Which one goes in?
See, I think Ape Out's a more interesting game, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's interesting because they both do interesting things around music.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the
Don't know about that.
Actually, I'd be perfectly happy to sacrifice Ape Out, actually.
Where's this coming from?
No, nothing. Go on.
This is another strategy.
Ape Out is out of the hat.
All right.
Kind of glad. I mean, you know, if I had to choose between the two games, then Ape Out would be in the hat. But, I really didn't like Hearts. I don't know. Right, okay, this is it. 16 games.
Jesus.
They're all in the hat. I'm going to pick the first game now. Good luck, everyone.
Half an hour in, we just get into the first game.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Go well this year. First game out of the hat is Gears 5. Matt Murray. Why is it in the hat?
Gears 5 is an utterly fantastic game. I haven't played much really in terms of like the campaigns of the previous Gears games. I played obviously loads of like Gears 2 and 3 in Horde mode, but I was excited to play Gears 5. And I surprised myself actually how much I enjoyed the game. It feels so polished. I mean, I was playing on Xbox One X. It feels incredibly polished. It feels incredibly solid. The weapons have like a really like meaty, solid feel to them. Like it looks great, sounds great. And I also was not expecting at all that the writing would be any good. Again, I haven't really played many campaigns of previous Gears games, but I assume I thought it'd just be pretty pretty shallow in terms of story. But the story was excellent. It actually made me care for characters in a way I didn't really think I would ever care for characters in a game from the Gears universe. It just played incredibly well. It's incredibly fun, mixing up the various weapons against various types of enemy, and I was just immensely impressed with it. For a game I went in, I wanted to play it just because it's a new Gears game, and this one got fairly decent reviews scores. But I was like, I want to give it a go, but I wasn't expecting to like it and come out thinking this is actually an excellent game. And it's a shame more people aren't playing this. Mostly, I guess, because it's an Xbox game. Obviously, it's also available on PC.
I think a lot of people played it, didn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, like this is obviously isn't like on a scale of like of a PS4 exclusive, and everyone playing it just because of how many Xboxes were sold. But it's a stunning game. I thought it was just really impressive, really excellent. And I am now excited for another Gears game whenever that comes out. Again, I don't think I'll be saying that ever. It's a really great campaign, great story, great looking, really fun, and I think it's absolutely excellent. And I really urge anyone to give it a go and play it.
Sean, did you play it?
I didn't know.
Oh, mate, is it not? It's available on
PC. Yeah, because I was so during the year because my PC was all right, and I've got an original Xbox One, and I was like, what do I play it on? Probably the Xbox. But now I've upgraded the PC, so I was like, yeah, fuck, I should really play Gears 5 at some point.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, I've got to play for it.
Yeah.
I mean, James, we started playing.
We
in
did,
co-op,
yeah.
didn't
We started, and that was after they'd fixed all the netcode problems, wasn't it?
Yeah, God, Jesus Christ! When it first came out, it was a nightmare.
It wasn't incredibly solid. It turns out, when it first came out. It was a nightmare. But when they'd fixed all that and we were playing it was really good. So we should go back to that, James.
Yeah, you absolutely should. I mean, I obviously tried to play co-op with you, didn't we, Dave? And it just didn't really work. But
how many players can it have?
2, isn't it?
It's only 2. No, 3. I think it's 3.
3, yeah. Someone's got to be the robot. Just flying around. Like, you're not really doing much.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like tons of other like sort of multiplayer aspects like Horde mode, versus mode, and I think Escape's another one. I didn't actually play them. I just stuck with a single player campaign. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely excellent. It felt like they also sort of expanded with these. Some people criticised it for having what they called quite weak open world areas. I wouldn't describe them as open world. They're more just like hubs really to get to other sort of side missions and other other parts of a mission. They're really just like these huge, wide open spaces where you use this vehicle to go between these small sections. So I wouldn't call it open world, but I really enjoyed them because often, although it sort of changes in the final area, they're mostly sort of combat free. You mostly get to survey like the really gorgeous like vistas and landscapes, and I really enjoyed those sort of downtimes in between sort of side missions.
In those areas, there's actually nothing to do. It's just like padding the game out, like so it's longer. Yeah, like you're going from place.
I mean, in terms of the things to do,
every time James speaks, it sounds like he's got an angle.
It's not angle at all.
In terms of the things to do are to get us to go to a side mission,
to go from A to B. Yeah.
Well, yeah, to explore the world and
James,
to travel between missions.
No point. I'm just trying to get an angle on what what this is all about. I haven't played enough.
I am scared. I'm actually genuinely scared of James Farley this year. Like I've got fear.
You see, more than ever this year, I've got no intention of like digging anyone out for their choices because I think we've got 16 excellent games, and then here's Farley being like, yeah,
Sean, it is very early. I mean, let's see what happens. Should we see what Gears 5 is up against?
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go. Gears 5 is up against Tetris 99. That's my game. So yeah. When Charlie, my son Charlie was born, I hammered Tetris Effect, which was on the list for Game of the Year last year. I didn't, I never really connected with that game as much as you guys did. But I really did like the, the sprint mode where you had like 2 minutes, or you had to get like 20 or 40 lines in as quick as you possibly could. And I sort of just clicked with it because I just really enjoyed it. But there wasn't much else to it, really. I just thought it's a shame. I definitely thought at the time it's a shame it doesn't have some sort of multiplayer element. But, I played that pretty much every night in the middle of the night when Charlie was awake and screaming and stuff, and it used to soothe him and stuff like that. Then later in that year, I can't remember what month it was, but Nintendo announced that they were giving this Tetris 99 away for free, and it was in one of their directs, and it was just hilarious. The moment they announced it, I genuinely thought it was a bit of a joke, and that it wasn't actually how it appeared in the thing, like in their thing, where it was like Battle Royale Tetris. I was kind of like, okay, but then even then, I was thinking, okay, Battle Royale Tetris, I kind of get the deal. You just keep playing Tetris until, you're the last man standing type thing. It's not that at all. Like, I can't believe how well they looked at Battle Royale games and realised certain elements of what makes Battle Royale fun. And they've somehow managed to get it into Tetris. From attacking people, from building up, you say loot, but they use the term badges in this. You're essentially knocking people out to steal their power-ups to use on yourself and either use it as a defense. If you're getting loads of junk building up on the side of the screen, you can use that to wipe out that junk as quick as possible, or to use it to attack people. The idea that you can quickly switch between attacking people that are attacking you or attacking people at random, all of a sudden it becomes strategic. So like originally I was thinking, well, I'm going to start by attacking random people because I don't want to get badges in the early game because then you become a target. So I'll keep a low profile. I'll wait until like the last 20 and then I'll start attacking people with high badge numbers. But that's a risk because that worked for a while, but then people started cottoning onto that sort of tactic, and you realise that actually if you're attacking someone with a load of badges, they're probably going to attack you back and wipe you out straight away because they're more powerful than you. And there's all these layers of what you should be doing and how you can go from defence to attack and back again as you go through this whole process. The game board speeds up the further you get into it, and by the end of it, when you get into the last 10, it is just pure tension. But more importantly than anything else, you finish a game, you load a new game up. Like, it was just so addictive in that regard. I found myself spending 2 to 3 hours straight just playing Tetris 99 because I could not get to the end and just say, okay, I'm done for the night. I would have to boot that game up again. So yeah, it was a shock. It was a hilarious idea that they absolutely nailed. And my word, they managed to get a lot of people to sign up for fucking Nintendo Online. And I mean, that is an achievement in itself. To give it away for free with people with that subscription was a stroke of genius. And, it wasn't just that week of buzz that game had. There's still a massive community around it. And there's no surprise because it's a truly excellent game. And it is, it's the best version of Tetris I've ever played. Not because it's Tetris. It's more than that. It's taken Tetris and added ideas to it that for me, Tetris Effect never did. This feels like a completely different style of game. Because, with Tetris, you're thinking, oh, line up my Tetrises, or clear the wall as quick as I can. There are times in here where it's best to just not wipe out any lines. Just keep building your wall, and then all of a sudden, if you get absolutely hammered by people, you can quickly get rid of all the junk they send you. And it's that's how this game works. You're not playing this game like every other Tetris game. You're playing it with all these tactics in mind. And yeah, fucking incredible game. So let's before we do, has anyone else got anything to say about Tetris 99? Because I know you played it a lot, James.
I did, and I thought it was fantastic, and I still play it from time to time. I also like the way that they keep doing those events as well, like every
the events are great, yeah.
I mean, the first one they did was that one, so you could get like the original Game Boy like Tetris skin, over it, which was
that's right,
that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I always just use that because that is obviously the best one. And but that's
Did you win a game in the end? Because last time we spoke, you hadn't.
The closest I ever got to was 4th or 5th, I think. That's the furthest I've ever got.
Shit.
Never got closer than that. I mean, I've heard that it's better to play it in the evening here because then some of the pro players in Japan are maybe not playing. But I've never won one.
It's an amazing feeling. I ain't gonna lie.
At this point, it was just impossible. I mean, I sadly also never won. I got as close as like a 2nd or 4th in like their first 2 weeks. I really enjoyed it, and it was just, but I never actually won. But I thought the game was excellent too. It just made me think about Tetris in an entirely new way, and it is absolutely genius. The stuff I've done, where you can see like small versions of everyone else's like Tetris boards on in like the background of yours, and like even those incredibly small Tetris boards, you can still get an idea about where you should be, chucking your lines or what you should be doing.
Because you don't
there's so much data happening on the screen, but it still works really well. I think
you can like if you're I mean, that's why they say it's best to play it in handheld, because you can literally just touch the board that you want to attack. And all that stuff has been thought about. But I think I won like 15, 16 times, and the 16th time felt as good as the first. Like, it just feels, because when it's like that music kicks in and your heart starts pounding, and you keep just like looking, your eyes keep flicking over to the other board to see how they're getting on, and then all of a sudden it just comes up that you've won. And my word, it is just, it's such a good feeling. It really is.
I think
it's my favourite Battle Royale game for sure.
Like, I love Tetris Effect, but that is it's an incredible celebration of classic Tetris, whereas Tetris 99, like you say, when they first announced it, it's like, is this like a fucking practical joke? Because it's it's like some listicle shit, right? Like, 5 games, it'd be funny if they added Battle Royale. But actually, but not only do they do it, as you say, it could have just been you play Tetris and there are other people, and like you send in blocks to other people or whatever, and it could have just been like basically random, and they probably would have got away with it. But the fact that the fact that they actually really cleverly implement the Battle Royale style stuff, which, as you say, like targeting people, playing it strategically, and like, obviously, that's fascinating for people who are already insanely good at Tetris, because it's like a whole new level to consider for them. And it's just, like you can't just go in and just be like certainly like the first week or two, you could just be like, I'm just going to go in and play a pretty good game of Tetris and that'll be fine. Like, you can't get away with that now. You've got to engage with the extra stuff. And I think the fact that
that's what was so funny anyway, because when the game first came out, everyone was like, yeah, it's Tetris. Yeah, I finished 40th. That's great, isn't it? And then people are like, Like, what are those weird little symbols on the bottom left? Like, and what's that ding-ding-ding sound that you get every now and then? What is that all about? And because they didn't tell you any of that stuff. So then slowly these YouTube videos started coming out saying, right, here's how the game works, we think. So if you do this, you get a badge. We're not quite sure what the badge means, but you get a badge and it looks important. And it's like, and then obviously people started working out what the systems were and sharing that information. And once you understood it, it was like, fuck, man, this is actually this is genius.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
And the fact that obviously, taking such an old game and making it so relevant and so modern is, it's fascinating.
It's weird, isn't it? It is weird. As you say, if someone come in and said, let's do Tetris Royale, Battle Royale, you think you'd know exactly what they were going to do, and it would be fun, but it wouldn't have any level of sophistication. But they really put themselves in a room somewhere, didn't they, and worked all this shit out for a long time. It's
just insane that a game as old as Tetris is. We had Tetris Effect last year's up there, like Game of the Year conversation in a totally new way in VR. Obviously, you can play it in non-VR, and then you got another Tetris game this year. Also, just sort of mixing things up with Battle Royale. It's crazy how this has happened.
Well, that's what I said.
If there's another one out next year, it's like, this is also a Game of the Year contender.
I said, I think I tweeted on Twitter.com that I can't believe the best Tetris game in decades has just been beaten by a better Tetris game a couple of months afterwards. It's fucking crazy. Okay, right. So obviously my vote goes to Tetris 99, Matt.
I mean, I'm obviously voting for Gears because it's my game, but I also think Tetris 99 is an excellent game. I sort of wish I played it more, but it got quite difficult and then other games came out, so I stopped. But
Sean,
it's got to be Tetris.
And James,
also Tetris. Yeah,
well, that's 3-1 to Tetris.
I mean, I could argue the case, but if I'm being completely honest with myself. I wouldn't have won over any friends with that one. Tetris is just an excellent game. None of you lot really played Gears, and I think even if you had all played Gears, I think you still probably would have voted for Tetris. But I just, as we said,
I really like what I played of Gears, Matt. I really did.
I was going to say, I wanted to be said, if people listening or you guys as well have access to an Xbox or PC, it is an excellent game, and it's got me excited for the next game in a way I didn't think it would. Also, whilst I was playing it and enjoying it, I kept thinking, man, this puts even more pressure on Halo Infinite because they've really smashed this new Gears game. It's so solid in pretty much every area. So now there's even more pressure on the next Halo game to actually be as good and make Halo modern in a way this makes Gears modern, but still sort of having the old sensibilities. And I mean, it's an excellent game, so I'd probably recommend it.
Yeah, like I said, no shade on Gears whatsoever. I'm really excited to get around to playing it because I've heard so many good things. But
it looks stunning as well. It looks unbelievable.
James, we're playing that. We're playing through that.
We'll do that in the new year. We'll have to do that. Yeah.
All right. Next game out of the hat, ladies and gentlemen, we have Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Woo! Sayonara Wild Hearts is a game which is a lot like Temple Run, but don't let that put you off because it is for a lot of it, you're just moving left and right and collecting things or dodging things. Certainly there are bits where you move up and down as well, but it's the fact that everything that happens it's presented as a pop album, and a lot of it is about the soundtrack, right? Which not everyone's into. It's certainly not the sort of thing I would normally listen to. It's all sort of this sort of weird sort of synthwave pop revival we've had over the last couple of years. It really ties into that, and it's what I find fascinating about it. For one, it's just an incredible audiovisual experience, right? I will never forget just playing it with the sound at full whack, and Isaac was just going absolutely ape shit, just laughing and running around and dancing to it. And it was just a proper fucking rush. The way it made me feel is up there with Area X in Res Infinite, right? That's how much it got me. Especially the later levels, just some of the situations you're in and stuff. I just think it's fucking beautiful. And I find it really interesting that the things I initially sort of didn't like about it so much. I mean, this is probably going to sound like I'm making excuses now, but the fact that like the structure of the levels is like you have like a couple of like all right, quite short levels that are kind of unremarkable, and then occasionally there's like a massive one. And it's like a proper boss fight and stuff, and like the song's much longer and better, and like it's way more exciting. And I was like, actually, yeah, that's a lot of albums. Like certainly like pop albums, it's like you've got your the obvious singles. And then ones that are just kind of there to fill some of the time, and then like, when we initially
that's terrible. That is a terrible argument.
Okay, fine. And then the fact that like,
Sorry.
When we talked about it initially, I said it was sort of disappointing to me because it's by Simogo, who normally do like sort of really deep, like very clever narrative stuff, whereas this is like it is about someone who had a heart broken and then got over it, And initially that was disappointing, but then it's like, no, because that's pop music. Like it succeeds because it's quite vague and general, and that's what makes it universal, and why like millions of people can get into it, because it's not too specific about what it's talking about, right? And that makes it relatable to people. So
I hate that we can't interrupt with this. Sorry, I know I've just interrupted you, but go on.
That's fine, James. Right, just undermine me. Don't worry about it. And
when did that become a rule? That we can't interrupt?
I don't know.
I think we've just assumed it's just a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, I just assumed too, because I've also wanted to interrupt about 3 times in this, but I was going to...
Okay, fine. And the fact that like the boss fights, it's like they obviously take, they sort of draw this analogy between like the structure of a pop song and like the phases in a boss fight, and the fact that it's like a lot of those fights sort of behave like fights from like a shooter or whatever, and the fact there's all like different phases and different attacks and stuff that all marry up with the structures of the songs. I enjoyed the absolute fuck out of it. I think the soundtrack's great, even though it's, as I say, not the sort of thing I would normally listen to, but properly enjoyed it, and visually it's absolutely incredible, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
Cool. All right.
So go on then. Come on, James.
I've got nothing to say.
Have it.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, you got nothing to say now? All right then.
There you go. That's nice. That's
just
nice.
want to put your fist right, didn't you? Right in the middle of it. That's what we wanted to do. Yeah. So who else has played this? Because I've played and finished this as well.
I played it.
I haven't finished it. I gave up because I think it's not about slagging the games off. So I'm not going to go off on one, but I just didn't have that I didn't have that connection.
Yeah, no,
I didn't have that connection. I didn't with the gameplay, with the music, with it just did nothing for me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm underqualified to talk about it because I didn't get anywhere near the end, and certainly not to the bits that you're praising, Sean. I just, it was an instant turn-off for me. I really didn't get into it.
No, that's fine. I can totally see that, like I say. Although, yeah, the soundtrack and stuff did work for me, I can see exactly why it wouldn't, because it so just goes in on this one aesthetic that, like, if you're just not into it, there's nothing you could do about that, is there?
Yeah, I thought the soundtrack was excellent. I played and finished this over a lunch break. It's like an hour and 20 maybe, I don't know.
It's very short,
yeah. And yeah, like the sort of the story and the music definitely kept me going. I didn't really ever feel like quitting. I knew it was short, so I can easily get through like an hour and 20 game without being too annoyed. And I thought it was really, really good. I mean, yeah, gameplay wise, it is quite simplistic. It really is just going left and right or up and down. But the soundtrack was excellent. I wouldn't say it got near the heights of Area X for me, but maybe that's a VR thing. Maybe that was way more immersive than this. But I thought, regardless, the soundtrack was really, really excellent. And yeah, I thought it was good. I was impressed. I mean, I haven't those sorts of games where it's such a link between the music and gameplay. They don't. I mean, maybe there are loads of them out there, but I feel like to me they don't come around that often. That's why games like Tetris Effect and Res and stuff feel so special when they do drop. And this was good. It didn't hit me in the same way those games did, but I really appreciate it for what it was.
Cool. What's it up against? Let's find out.
Oh, I hate this. I'm nervous every time.
It's a bit nerve-wracking.
And then when you said the next game, I was like, oh god, just not one of mine.
Every time you join a new one, I'm just like, why didn't I just fucking write down everything I wanted to say?
Yeah. The next game is A Plague Tale.
Oh, okay. Right. A Plague Tale is... What's so funny?
I did that noise you made. Sorry, it's not... Yeah.
I'm just like,
I wouldn't
you
worry.
said that, and
Following
suddenly
that game,
every type of sort of permutation just like ran through my head at once. Like, anyway.
I'll tell you this about. I watched quite a bit of gameplay footage of this today. I know it was not what I was expecting. I didn't know it was like a 3D action style game. But go on.
A Plague Tale Innocence is it's basically like a 3D. Yeah, it's like a third person sort of character based stealth action game where you play as this older sister called Amicia. And you're looking after your 5-year-old brother called Hugo. And it's all set during this thing in France called the 100 Years' War. And it's obviously, it's a big old war that's happening. There's basically these, there's a plague of rats that are basically roaming around trying to spread the plague. Your brother Hugo has actually been confined for many, many years. I mean, he's only 5, but I presume confined for his entire life. And people are basically after him. Because it seems that him and the blood that runs through his body is somehow linked to this plague, and it's basically you two on a run, on an adventure, getting through the story, basically trying to stay alive. And I hadn't played. I think this actually might be their debut game. I'm not sure, but regardless, it's It was a really, really excellent game. I think people would describe it as like a AA game. It was from Focus Interactive, who published it, and a Cyber Studio who made it. But I was just incredibly impressed with the level of sort of character and the writing, the story, the gameplay, and everything really for a game that you can tell it wasn't in the same sort of league as like Last of Us or other sort of big AAA games which are similar to this, but I think what they did what was absolutely excellent, and the characters and the writing are really, really, really brilliant. There was loads of really sort of tender moments between the two. I was worried at first that this would be a child in peril situation. I
was about to say, is that kind of
with older sister looking after a younger brother, and I was like, oh, if this does this, it's going to break me. It didn't quite do that, which I was actually thankful for. There wasn't moments where he was like, weeping to his sister, and I'm going to be in bits here. But that's not to take away from it at all. I was actually worried that would, made me almost like not like it. But the writing between them two is really excellent because Hugo's actually been confined for all his life, hasn't really engaged with his sister much. It feels like they're two strangers at the beginning, and it's really excellent the way that the writing showcases them gradually getting closer and closer as they're on this adventure together, basically just thrown together, even though they are family. They're basically like strangers, and it does loads of really touching things with collectible items you'll find on your adventure, and how that connects the pair. The writing is exceptional. The gameplay also it's much more stealthy than it might look. It might look like it's another sort of third person action game, but actually it's more about being stealthy, about trying to avoid combat, avoid any sort of enemies. So there are lots of bits where you're sneaking around or hanging around in the dark, or going from like these large bushes to other sort of large or shrubbery to try and escape and trying to get away from these soldiers. Basically, the whole game feels like you're constantly on the run, constantly trying to get away from everyone else. So I think it does that stealth in a really interesting way. One of the biggest mechanics actually is the use of huge groups of rats, which you're able to engage with in a way towards the middle and the back end of the game. And it's really clever the way it uses these like huge hordes of rats to like solve puzzles, to attack other enemies, to get you from point A to point B. The puzzles themselves aren't particularly taxing, but they're satisfying nonetheless. There's lots of things with light, as you would imagine, like turning, because rats also don't like fire. So there's bits where maybe you're trying to get rats away from a certain area. You're trying to get through a hole in the wall, so you have to get fire over there, or cut the chandeliers and so on and so forth. Those puzzles, whilst they're not tricky, they're not particularly sort of they don't really get in your way, but they're a nice sort of thing to sort of to play as you go along. And writing wise, I just thought it was an excellent game. I thought it was it was a really nice story. I really want to see if there's like a sequel or some other game in like the Plague Tale universe. I think they could do loads more in this, and I thoroughly recommend it. I think it's a game that did go under a lot of people's radar. Maybe because
I remember when people were reviewing it, like everyone was just like, "You're going to ignore this, and I'm already angry at you for it." Like it was like everyone reviewed it, loved it, but they all had that sense that it was like, this is just going to get ignored, and that is really frustrating. Yeah,
I think because Focus Interactive, who publish it, I think they publish like a lot of like indie titles or definitely sort of AA and maybe like and beneath sort of titles. But this has all the sort of feeling of like it's very close to being AAA, but it's clearly a game with a smaller budget and a smaller team. And I think I could be right in saying that it's their debut game, but but it's got so much quality that it's almost pushing to that sort of AAA level. But Plague Tale Innocence, absolutely excellent. So super impressed. Fully recommend it, and it's just really.
What's it on? Is it on everything?
It's on PS4, Xbox, and PC. I'm not sure if there's rumours of a Switch version or not, but
So is it on Game Pass?
I don't know.
Don't think so.
I think it is, isn't it? I think I read that it was going to be, or something like at least either now or it's going to be in the near future.
Okay.
Well, yeah. If anyone gets a chance to play it, I think you'd really enjoy it. Yeah.
Vote time. Matt,
I'm going to go Plague Tale for sure.
Sean,
I'm going to go for Sayonara Wild Hearts, obviously.
I don't know what I'm going to do. James?
I'm going with Matt's game with Plague Tale.
So, James, you never played this, did you?
I've not, no, but it's on my wish list at the moment, so it's something that I think I would like. So that's why I'm going to go for this.
I mean, Dave, I know you actively didn't like Sayonara Wild Hearts, so I'm not going to... Don't feel like you have to agonise over this.
No, I know, but then part of me thinks I fucking hate stealth games as well. So it's like, but you're probably right. I mean, I can't vote for a game that I didn't like over a game that I
probably
haven't played. I guess probably not the way to go. Okay, so we'll say a Plague Tale gets through to the next round, right?
Excellent.
Yeah,
I'm really happy with that.
I feel kind of bad because Sayonara Wild Hearts, a lot of people connected with it and loved it.
No, I knew it was a gamble because I know you guys mostly weren't wild about it. But yeah, I was just happy to get it in to begin with, to be honest.
Cool. All right. Next game out of the hat is Luigi's Mansion 3. This was one of my picks. So I've had a past with Luigi's Mansion games. I adored the GameCube one. I tried the 3DS one, Luigi's Mansion 2, A New Moon, was it called? I can't remember. Yeah, and I was utterly disappointed. It just felt, I don't know, I just couldn't. There was a lot of buzz for it when it came out, and I couldn't see what everyone was loving about it. It just seemed like the puzzles were a little bit non-Nintendo. You know, it felt like B-Team Nintendo doing stuff, which, you know, is usually still a good shout, but I don't know, I couldn't get into it. So I had no interest in Luigi's Mansion 3 at the start of the year. I had no interest at all up until we played it at EGX this year. We managed to get in early and have a quick demo, and I remember thinking, wow, there might be something here. This feels, you know, really good. Then I saw the buzz on Twitter, and people who had played it, various different people from Games Media, were just going, it's brilliant. So I still wasn't 100% going to get it. I was thinking maybe leave it to the end of the year, maybe Harry can have it for Christmas, something like that. But then I just thought, you know what, I've got a bunch of Nintendo games here that are worth about £40 billion in CEX, so let's go pick it up. And my word, I am so glad that I did. It's you know, we talk about the polish for Nintendo games, right? And they just feel so together, and not so much about bugs, but they just feel they've got a certain feeling about Nintendo games, especially anyone involving, you know, Mario, Luigi, or whatever. This just takes it to the next level. Like the animation in this game is better than I have seen in any video game. But maybe, I mean, Red Dead 2 was pretty good, but in a completely different way. Like the you know, the cartoon animation around everything you do in this game is just incredible. Every floor that you go on in this hotel, as James said, it felt like a theme park. Like you were, going up you couldn't wait to see what the theme was for the next level, and it never disappointed. I saw a few people complaining about the control system. Didn't have a problem for me. I was fine with it. Just going from personal experience. There's a certain boss battle that people don't like. I can't understand why they don't like it, because it was pretty easy. It's one of those. It's like when you see anyone complain about one of the bosses in this game on a podcast or whatever, they always say, "Oh yeah." I mean, I did it the second time. You just thought, well, it can't be that bad then, can it? It's not like you're bashing your head against it over and over again. The common complaint seems to be that the controls make the bosses unintentionally difficult. I just can't relate to that. I didn't experience that at all. So that criticism's not in my head. But even when people put these criticisms forward in reviews or in on podcasts or forums that I've seen people talk about it, they always end with how much they love the game, like in spite of these issues that they have with it. And it took me totally by surprise. The whole opening section was when my heart started beating, and I'm going, this might be top tier stuff. Like the whole opening intro stuff, I was thinking, shit, man, this might actually be legit. And then the more I played it, the more I loved it. And then the way it ended was just utterly wonderful. Like, I mean, to the point where I was laughing out loud repeatedly with stuff that was happening on the screen. And then I've gone back and I'm trying to 100% it at the moment, because I'm not done with it. Like, I love every little puzzle in it. I love every battle that I've had in it. The combat is very easy, very basic, but just so satisfying. When you line up 4 ghosts, James, and then you just batter them with the ghosts that you're currently vacuuming, it just fun every time.
It's smashing them around in it as well. Like it's just
good. So good. It's just so fun to play, and as I say, the sound effects, the music, everything. This is such a good representation of Nintendo that it had to be on the list. Like, there was no doubt. It was, I was halfway through and I was like, this is a Game of the Year contender. And that feeling never dropped throughout the whole. I think I've put 30 hours into it now, and I'm just not, like, I've not had one moment where I haven't had a smile on my face while I was playing it. It's always been a joy to boot up and play. Sean, did you play this in the end?
I've played a bit of it, not really enough to comment, but certainly I can echo the stuff about like how just instantly charming it all is and how beautifully presented it is. I've only put, it must have been about an hour into it. So yeah, I mean, I've barely like got into a fight with some ghosts. I know. I tried, believe me. But it's as you say, I can see why you fell in love with it as quickly as you did. I'm really excited to get more of it played.
Well, that whole intro bit is just hilarious, and that level of humour throughout the whole thing, because all the ghosts that you see at the start that are pretending to be working for a really nice hotel. Did you notice they were wearing masks?
Yeah.
And it's like so obvious that they're just like they're like trying to hide, and the fact that they're ghosts.
Yeah,
and
I love the fact that obviously it's going to be like a haunted mansion, right? But the way at the start it's just like it's a hotel. Like the title screen's just it's such a really nice hotel. What's the problem?
The brightest, it's like the brightest hotel ever. Like this, sun beaming in from everywhere. Like everything's these pastel colours. Yeah. They're all smiling and stuff. And the way that Luigi and Mario interact. I mean, they come back to that later, and the whole section at the end with Luigi and Mario is fucking hilarious. Like it's hilarious, and there's that Mario movie, coming out in a couple of years' time or whatever. I was always like, are they going to be able to do it? Like, are they? This game shows that yes, they absolutely can. Like the humor is there, and they're not even talking in this game really. They're it's one word stuff, and it's just a joy to play. And as I said, I worried that it was going to be one of those throwaway Nintendo games that is no way bad, but you could tell that this isn't at the level of, say, Mario Odyssey or anything like that. This feels like a team proper. They poured everything into this. Visually, it's one of the best looking games on the Switch, and it has taken a step forward in animation for not only Nintendo but for video games, because every other like sort of cartoon style video game is going to look fucking dog shit compared to this, unless it's up there with the animation that's in this game. It's James, have you got anything to add?
Not really. I mean, I completely agree with everything you say, obviously, because it was one of my favourite games this year. I especially enjoy playing it with Asher like a bit like recently. We've been getting back into it, and it's just it's like you said, it's the animation, like just when he's like running along, like, you know, waving his little arms and stuff like that. It's just so good. Like, it just looks, and the music as well is also like, you know, excellent. You know, from floor to floor. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Fantastic game. Sean, you've got to play it because it is really good. Honestly.
I will. Really looking forward to getting more of it done, but just not had time this week.
It really was one of those ones where I was like thinking, oh, it's another, like, this year hasn't felt like there's been that many like real bangers from Nintendo, and I didn't have like massive hopes for this, and then came out and I'm like, wow, this is really, really good. Like, you know, far better than I thought it would be.
What's it up against?
Definitely playing over Christmas, so I'm really looking forward to it. Because
are you buying it?
I will buy it, yeah. Because I mean, admittedly, when we played at EGX, I wasn't really the fiddly controls sort of, you know, did sort of annoy me. But again, that's like a 2-minute demo. Also, like, generally, stuff I've seen of it, I have never thought, oh, this is like a day one, I have to get it. I've just seen it and thought, oh, it's, you know, I really haven't had much of an emotional connection with it whatsoever. I haven't played the previous ones. Didn't play one on 3DS, and I just saw it and thought it just did nothing for me. But obviously, everyone loves it so much. I want to see. I want to see if I can experience that as well. But from the outside looking in, I was like, just, I don't know.
You got to say as well, right? Fair play to the PR team, because there's stuff in this game that is a massive surprise and really fun to discover. Had that been on all the trailers, like, I swear the majority of the stuff that's in the trailer is the lobby and the sort of hotel rooms. You know what I mean? You know, the bedrooms. That's it. They hid away all the fucking mental stuff that's in it. And yeah, and of course Luigi is just now, you know, Harry doesn't go anywhere without his Luigi soft toy and also his smaller Luigi soft toy that he calls Luigi. Oh, James, the way they interact as well, if Luigi gets a gem or something, it's just so good. So good. What's it up against? What is it up against?
It's going to be one of mine, isn't it?
I don't know. Resident Evil 2. Wow. two games set in horror. two
hardcore horror games.
So Resident Evil 2, that's one of mine. It's a remake of the '98 classic, and it's been modernised. It looks stunning. And for a man who doesn't do well with horror, me deciding to stream it was, I think, probably the only way I would have got through it, frankly. And even then, it is almost too much for me. But what I love about the game, even though I struggle with how much it sort of fucked me up, you know, because I don't like getting chased. There's a lot of getting chased from Mr. X in this game. What I did really appreciate was how it felt. It felt old school, but it felt modern in a way that I sort of find it hard to actually articulate in a way. It just has a very retro feel whilst looking and acting like a modern game. It's got loads of really great quality of life improvements, things like the map where it actually shows you with color coding and other stuff. If there's things still in rooms that you haven't picked up that you've seen, it's like there's lots of nice quality of life changes in that regard. And they do sort of move things around from the original. I never actually finished the original, mostly because I guess I probably got too scared even back then. But I have finished this. And I thought it was excellent, even though I struggled so much. But it looks fantastic. I mean, like, I've seen comparisons of this to like the old one, and like the graphics in this look better than like the pre-rendered backgrounds of of the original. I remember how good that felt, how good it felt like it looked back then. But yeah, this looks absolutely excellent. And I love the changes. Mr. X is horrendous. And I was very close to being sick playing it. That's how much it really messed me up. But I'm very glad it did. I'm glad I stuck with it. And it's an absolute excellent game. I mean, it came out so early on in the year. I guess my worry is that people would have like forgotten about it when it comes to like sort of Game of the Year stuff. But it's absolutely excellent. I mean, it's not perfect. Like I do feel like there wasn't probably enough changes for like the second run. I did Leon first, then Claire, and although like Claire's was slightly different, it wasn't really different enough. And they sort of changed how the original worked, whereby the first player you go through as, depending on what, say, ammo you've left or items you left, that then affects what you can do in the second playthrough. But this doesn't really do that. It's just like another playthrough where, like, maybe there's some different keys you might have to get, but like, it's largely the same. Obviously, the difference is that you know how puzzles work, so you can get through it a lot quicker. But I'm super happy I played it. It looks gorgeous, and I'm obviously extremely psyched for the remake of Nemesis, which actually they've announced in the last week, so it's actually out in March. So next year there'll be a whole other one. I didn't play Nemesis at all, so I'm really excited for that, even if it will be more chasing around the place. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, an update to an absolute classic. And this is another absolutely fantastic game. I think if you like the original one, you'll love this. And you'll appreciate the changes that it makes. And again, in similar, I guess, in a way that I loved Gears, it felt like it felt old school, but with lots of modern improvements, and I think they did really, really well with it. So
I'm really glad you played it as well, actually, because your stream was fucking brilliant. Like, it was so good. You've just got to see the compilation videos on our YouTube channel. It's just really funny. And yeah, I mean, it looked really good. Looked like I hate horror games, I won't lie, but there was part of me that was like, oh, maybe I should play this because this just looks so fun. Like, it really did look fun.
And for me, even the basic zombies, I felt like even towards the end, it wasn't like, okay, well, this is an easy zombie, one shot. It's like you still had to be careful around them. You couldn't just feel like you could breeze through them because you were used to it. Like, even the single zombies still scared me. Still meant I had to be on the ball, because if I'd messed up and so on and so forth, it would have just gone fully wrong. But yeah.
My favourite, I still think my favourite moment was when you absolutely shit yourself. Where you walked through that window and you saw a liquor right outside, and you paused the game because you were so scared. And you built up the confidence to finally take it out. And you unpaused the game and then moved over to the left a little bit and realised there was two of them.
For people who watch the stream and the highlights, they might think, "Oh, Matt's voted this," but it's basically like map. It's map the game, basically, because I had the game paused to see the map. It must be like 10 hours of that alone, thankfully. So Matt, you do need to unpause the game to play it. It's like, oh no, I'm just checking where the rooms are. Yeah, there's a lot of pausing. I mean, I think my favourite part of that was when I was, you obviously hear Mr. X. You hear not only his footsteps, but like the music starts to know that he's close. And I was running down a corridor, open the door, and I was like, if he's around this corner, I'm gonna. And then he was literally there, like a foot away from me, and I screamed.
No, that was it. You said, if he's around this corner, then I'm done. You walk around the corner, he wasn't there. You walk around the next corner, he was there. It was just like as if it was like it could detect.
For a bunch of streams, I might have started, because it's like winter at that point. I might have started like wearing t-shirt, shirt, and jumper. I gradually took my clothes off, and I looked like I was incredibly ill. I was from like a nice, fresh-faced person to like, clammy skin, pale. Oh god. But I'm glad I got through it, because
you can't jump there. You can't jump down there because the game is an idiot.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking to myself about this. I'm glad I forced myself to stream. I'm not sure where the idea, but was it your idea to stream this? I'm not sure where that even came from, but I'm glad I went through with it regardless.
I mean, most of your successes are down to my ideas, but I don't think that was one of them.
It's an update to a classic, and it's well worth your time.
Right. voting time. Matt, Resident Evil 2 or Luigi's Mansion 3?
I mean, for me, yeah, it's Resident Evil.
Obviously, I'm going Luigi's Mansion. James?
Sorry, Luigi's Mansion.
Sean?
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Luigi's Mansion. It's not even Resident Evil's fault. There's no way I'm ever playing it because I'm too scared. So it's got to be Luigi's
It's very
Mansion.
hard going up against like a first party Nintendo.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. That.
I feel sorry for Resident Evil 2, but yeah, I guess I understand. But God, that's another one.
Luigi's Mansion. Next out of the hat, we have Life is Strange 2.
Okay, this is one of mine, isn't it, this time?
It is, James.
Okay, so, I mean, we've done spoiler casts on this, and we've all kind of talked about how much we loved it. But, I really did enjoy this, mostly because I feel that this is a lot more thoughtful than its predecessor, than the original Life is Strange. And it also, other reason I really liked it is that I didn't feel that it relied on sort of shocks or anything to try and grip the audience, because that was something I thought was a major part of the first series. But I don't think any other game this year, I don't know. I mean, I'll get into that in a minute. But I don't think any other game this year has created such an effective bond between two characters than Sean and Daniel. And although there are some issues in it where things are dealt with a bit heavy-handedly, particularly I think probably in the fourth episode, there's some stuff there. Everything mostly the current the way it deals with current real world problems is really super effective, and the cast of supporting characters are just so good. Each is really well developed. They've all got, most of them have got really sympathetic backgrounds as well. There's not really that many sort of cartoon villains apart from maybe Elizabeth, but even
there's a lot of racists in it.
There are, yeah, but then there's also they explain reasons for stuff as well. And I mean, even Lisbeth, the way she is, if you start going through her files and all that kind of thing, you can kind of see why her desperation, why she's desperate to keep Daniel there and everything. Totally wrong, obviously, but you can still see there's a reason, for this. It's not just cartoon, and that's why I love the game so much, because I wanted to relate with all the characters I met because they were all really well drawn, and it was really easy to relate to each of them. And it also had really good pacing because, I mean, particularly the last episode, which I genuinely thought was one of the best things I played this year, largely because there were so many sort of long sections that are designed for contemplation, and they were just so well plotted. There was long sections when you're at the beginning in the in the canyon and everything, you have a chance to sort of re-establish a relationship with Daniel, to talk with him about stuff, and to sort of see how both of you have progressed, over this journey, over this time. And it's funny because what I think, was it Sean that you were saying about the gaps between the episodes, how maybe this wasn't so bad actually because it gave you a chance to
allowed it to.
That was your boy Davey T.
Allowed it to percolate, didn't it?
Yeah. And you can kind of see that because, I mean, this game obviously was supposed to take place over a long period of time, wasn't it? And it felt like we lived that, and that's what was so sort of moving at. I mean,
as I say, there's no excuse for that. But the point I was making is that we have had these two characters in our heads and wondering what they were going to do for a year now, and it felt that last episode, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And again, there's no excuse for it. I'm not saying that it's better that it took a long time between episodes. I'm not convinced that that's true, but that's the situation we were in during that last episode. And it made me think back throughout the year. It felt like I'd known them for a long time, even though in terms of playtime, it wasn't a massive amount. It's 8-9 hours or whatever. But because we started this last year, it felt important, I guess. That I don't know. It just
really
felt
like
more
you grew with
weighted.
them.
yeah, I think.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
It's maybe in terms of sales and all that kind of thing, it was not a great idea for them to do that. But I don't think it really terribly hurt the game in terms of narrative and in terms of story. I still think it kind of helped to build a relationship maybe a little bit more. And the game made me care, and I mean really care about two characters, and that doesn't happen hardly ever when I play games, to the point where like this whole sequences at the end of the game were amazing. I mean, I don't want to say what they were, but there's, with the photos and all that kind of thing, it was incredible. Just to see,
it really was
how things go, and just the idea that you're getting a glimpse into things was really well done. So I mean, it's
one of the best endings of a game ever. I think
it's
in my book.
I mean, it's easily one of my games of the year. Like it was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Does you know? I mean, I know we've all played it and talked about it and all done spoiler cast, but how long is the game set over?
About a year and a half, I think, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, I think it's Yeah,
because obviously, like I said, we have bemoaned the fact there's like 3-month gaps, but that I think in hindsight that, and maybe I'm just like finding excuses to support it, but it's like that felt like that allowed you to really appreciate the relationship grow over the year.
It's quite a conflicting thing, isn't it? Because I want these games to be successful, so they keep making more of them. Like I like them, but I think if they announce that the next one, if you ignore the sales and everything, if they announce the next one's going to be over the course of a year, with a new episode every couple of months, I will no longer be angry about that because I feel that, you know what, I can wait. Life moves on. We get there in the end, and I really appreciated like that the time it took to get to that conclusion because it felt more important, I guess. I want these games to be successful, and I think that might have a big part. That might be a big part of why this sort of fell by the wayside. Well, I mean, we all went to the EGX chat where, there was a low attendance in the audience, and not many people have been tweeting about it or talking about it. So on that level, you want it to come out and make a big bang. And
to want it to be successful, there has to be a strong, solid, understandable release schedule. I think they said that for the next game. It will be, I can't remember the actual words they use, but an understandable release schedule.
But that has a direct impact on what we've just been talking about, though, doesn't it?
It does, but in terms of if they want the game to be successful, I think that the massive gaps just were too long. It was fine for us, and I think we appreciated it. And I think in the end we saw actually it was cool in a way to have it over the space of a year. But if you want to be successful, say first every month new episode, people know them, people know to get excited about it. They there'll be a lot more content, like probably have a spoiler cast, more buzz. I want, because if it's once a month, obviously. There's a lot of sort of production workflow things have to go into that. Can they even do it once a month? This isn't a game clearly where the whole game is built and done and then they split it up. They're clearly working on every single chapter over those 3 months. So for us, we sort of we gain a benefit of that. But if ever new, it's once a month, say the first of the month, like that. There will be people who play it day one, so some buzz in the first week. But there'll be some people who don't play it until week 3. But actually, you'd think that could be like almost like permanent discussion about the game for those, say, 6 months. I think the story has to link into that. Did this work because the story was over a year and a half? I think if the game was set over, say, like 6 weeks or a month, then it would feel out of place. But it's all worked for the sort of length of space between the episodes. But yeah, anyway.
Right, should we find out what it's up against, or has anyone got anything else to say?
I know what it's going to be. It's going to be one of mine, isn't it? It's inevitable.
I mean mathematically, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
You better be rigging this, Dave.
Outer Wilds.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Right, go on then. This was Sean or Matt? I can't remember.
This is Matt. Yeah.
Go on then.
Outer Wilds is my game of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. Not game of the year. It's one of the best games I've played in many, many years. The game it's like a third-person exploration game. I'm not really sure how I can really sort of put it into a genre. Really, you take the role of this person who's going on your first sort of space flight, and you have a home planet which you leave, and there are a bunch of other planets. I think maybe like 7 or 8 planets in this quite small solar system. But with all these planets, they all have unique sort of systems, unique puzzles. But the main sort of crux of the game is that basically every 22 minutes the sun explodes, and obviously everyone dies, and you start again. You go back to the start, and it's your mission as a player for every go, every life you get after the sun explodes, you go back to the beginning, but you've learned something about the world, you learned something about the universe, and you go around these various planets, explore more, learn more. You try and seek out answers about why the sun is exploding. You try and learn about other races that have existed in the universe. You're translating languages. You're exploring incredible planets. Each one of these planets is fully unique with its own atmosphere, its own sort of weather systems, a gravity even, but also its own stories. And there's been a lot of comparisons to No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was a game that sort of blew a lot of people away because of the millions and billions of potential planets out there. But for me personally, as much as I love No Man's Sky, the planets were pretty shallow in terms of actually what's on them. Yes, there could be like a billion different permutations, but they felt like it's just an algorithm developing and sending these millions of planets and sort of generating them. Sorry. Whereas this, it's an absolutely curated experience where every meter of land you experience on these planets, there are stories there. There's a past there. There's reasons why those things are there, and it's such a curated space exploration experience that I haven't really played before. I love space. I love, say, the music of Hans Zimmer. I love things like Interstellar, and I think if anyone has enjoyed Interstellar or those sorts of things, this will blow you away. Just personally for me, just going onto a planet and seeing the various vistas, the various things you see on each of these planets, knowing full well like that there's this sun that's right next to you that's getting redder and redder, it's going to explode. It's just absolutely awe-inspiring, and there's been times it's also really like emotional. There are a bunch of people you see on these various planets and across the universe with their stories to tell. They've also gone out to seek answers, and you've talked to them, you find out what they've been up to, and they've all understood that this universe is ending, and they're trying to impart their knowledge in each of these attempts you have. And it's really emotional when you try and work out what's happening, when you see these various sort of you experience these various things on these planets, how they look, how they function, why things are happening the way they are, and when you also then delve into the actual backstory of other races and so on and so forth, it's absolutely awe-inspiring. It's an absolutely beautiful game. Not only have I just immensely enjoyed it, it's definitely given me some of my greatest moments in gaming. There's obviously the sun is in the universe, and there is like a space station that circles around it, and it took me about 3 or 4 hours to actually land my rickety spacecraft on it. But when I did it, it was just an absolutely all-timer experience to have gone through those 3 or 4 hours of getting this little rickety spaceship where from the first second you fly up, you can hear the words and the metal sort of clashing against each other. If you feel like you're in, a handmade spacecraft, which you are, and I absolutely love that. With that combined with like the music and just how epic it was to, in this instance, particularly land on this space station, it's just an all-time incredible moment. Some people have like criticised the fact that actually flying spacecraft is like really pernickety and you crash a lot. Yes, you do crash a lot, and it does feel kind of fiddly. But I fully got used to that in the end. I think actually the fiddliness just added to the fact that it feels homemade. It looks homemade. You're hearing all the creaking of the words and the metal and stuff. And I think personally that linked in. So it's got story. It's got an amazing soundtrack. It shows you things where, as a fan of space, it just sort of blew me away just to see all these amazing moments across each of these planets. The puzzles some of them are incredibly, incredibly complex. I mean, I definitely looked at a guide for this game at certain points, and whereas other games, I think that would ruin it. And I guess if you had gone through the whole thing without looking at guides, maybe you'll have a different experience. But for me, it didn't ruin it at all. There were some things which are incredibly complex. Over these 22 minutes you have, certain things might be happening on certain planets at only one specific minute. So you have to get to certain places at certain times for things to happen. There's actually no, I was going to say something that happened on planet, but really the best thing about this game is going in and not really understanding it, not really being told much. And that's why I think a lot of people have struggled to talk about this game, because you don't want to talk about the game. You don't want to talk about any of the puzzles. You don't want to talk about any of the unique features each of these planets have, because they all lead into this narrative that you're developing yourself with, because some people will go to one planet first and others won't go into that planet until the very end. And that's crafting a unique narrative experience, I think, for everyone who plays this. It's a stunning game. I absolutely love it. I wish, if there's one game in recent years, I wish I could sort of wipe my memory and go back to experience it for the first time as this. And I think if you love, anything about space or Interstellar, I kept thinking about it all the time. Interstellar is a film that blew me away. I saw it like 3 or 4 times at cinema, and there's just so many moments where you think this looks stunning, and this has that. And I absolutely love Outer Wilds, and it's undoubtedly my game of the year.
Anything to add, Sean?
So I also absolutely adore this. I didn't quite finish it, which I'm very upset about. I've been caning it this week. I was like, the idea was, right, I'll finish that, and then I'll play Luigi's Mansion, and then basically realised that all this week I've had like one evening to play anything. But yeah, just to echo everything Matt said, you don't want to talk about like what the planets are like, because every one of them, like when you first play it, like you'll just, you can land on some of them, and you just trying to figure out like what they are and what the rules are of the physics, and how you can explore it and land on it and walk around, or not in some cases. It's just all like absolutely fascinating, and yeah, like Matt says, it's really surprising how emotional it is. Like, because it's a game where every 22 minutes the sun explodes. Every 22 minutes you face a hypothetical situation where you're like, what would you do if you knew you're about to, like, everything's about to be engulfed in flame, right? Like obviously it's in a fictional world, and there's not a massive amount of interaction with the characters and stuff, but like it fucking gets you sometimes. Like sometimes you'll just be like, okay, sun's exploding, I'm not like anywhere in particular, I'll just wait. But sometimes like it really fucking hits you. Like I was on this one planet where there's like an ocean, and saw that like, there's like a musical cue that plays every time the sun's about to go supernova. And I just got this like weird urge to just jump into the sea and swim as deeply as I could until everything just went white, and then I started again. And it's like, and you repeatedly are put in that situation. And like, I know people who can't play this because it like makes them feel sick and sad, and like, and I totally get that. Like it's beautiful, but there's a real like terror to it as well, because not that anything's, like there's nothing malicious about it. It's just turns out space travel's really dangerous. Like, and as I say, yeah, as you go to these different planets, and sometimes you'll just be like, oh, I guess I'll just land here, and it's a fucking disaster for reasons I won't spoil. Like, yeah, the ship controls certainly very weird at first, but give it time and a bit of practice, and you basically get in the habit of like I definitely spent a good few hours going to other planets and basically just crash landing on every single one and hoping the ship didn't blow up.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really seen anything about this game, although I think I saw like Eurogamer's review and said it was, I think it was Eurogame or someone said it's stunning. I was like, okay, I want to play this game. And actually, I didn't even realise there was a 22-minute sort of life cycle, because I never actually got that far. I kept basically crashing my ship or just being flung out into space for so long. It wasn't for like an hour. I was like, oh, hang on. So that's what's happening. I didn't even get that far. But just going back to your point there about sort of about when the sun goes supernova, it's heartbreaking, and there's so many moments where I've maybe on a planet and it's getting towards the 22 minutes, and I'm with someone else, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here with you, and we're gonna have our last few minutes together, and we're gonna like, watch some this thing go down together.
Because some characters aren't particularly aware of what's going on, but there's one, again, I'll avoid details, but there's one who's like, he is observing the sun, that's why he's where he is in the solar system. And yeah, like depending on, like, if you keep talking to him throughout the 22-minute cycle, like his dialogue changes, and if you speak to him just before the end, I was nearly in tears. Like it's just
for a game where there's no dialogue, it's just basically like text on screen and like weird sounds.
Yeah,
it really fucking gets you. But that's
absolutely.
Space is beautiful and scary, and you sort of feel like you're just one microscopic part of the universe feels massive, and you just feel like I've had loads of adventures and seeing people and trying to do these missions or whatever I'm trying to do, but actually I'm just one tiny speck in the universe, and this thing's happening whether I like it or not. And it really touches on that, like the beauty and the sort of the fragility of life and how scary space is.
Totally.
It's just amazing, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, just the fact that it's this entire solar system that, as you say, it's on this 22-minute cycle, but it's this huge system of interlocking parts and things happening at certain times, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And obviously, the whole point is that once you know the solution, you can do the game in 22 minutes. Like, you do it in one cycle. There's no real, like, the only overlap, and this is like, it kind of doesn't make sense in the game's logic, but it's worth it, is that basically your ship's computer has a database of everything you figured out, and it like puts it all on like a wall chart, and everything sort of links together, and that remains through each playthrough. So like, it's okay to like discover one thing and then the sun blows up and then you're back on your own planet, because that might be a link to something else. And it works so beautifully because, as you say, like, it sort of guides you to a couple of planets to begin with, but actually if you just go exploring, you will find bits of information and it puts it all on this chart, and then it gives you ideas of where to go next. Like, there's no like one way to go through it. And people discover things at different times, but the game handles that so well because everything links to everything else, and it will always point you at something else. Or even if it's just, if you've been to a location but you haven't discovered everything you could, there's like a little marker on it saying like, there's more to discover here, like probably go back. So although it's so expansive and complicated, it's so good at just leading you by the nose to the next hint. It's just beautifully done.
And it is amazing, like, because this is the only game I've ever got every single achievement for on Xbox, and actually I haven't done that even once on PlayStation, but everyone, and like one of them is basically do the whole thing in one 22-minute cycle, and it's crazy for a game. I don't know God knows how many hours I put into this, but it felt like a lot. It must be like 20 plus, and maybe close to 30, who knows? But the fact you can also just do it in one cycle is crazy and insane, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful game.
Oh God, you actually make me want to play it again. I mean, I had my issues with the games. I didn't like moving about in that game at all. And I thought, for a game where you can get stuck with no way out, that's not a great thing. And the fact that, this looping mechanic, I like the idea of it, but when it meant that I had to fly back to where I was before to continue what I was doing before I flipped out into space. I just found it ultimately really frustrating.
There are certainly instances...
Didn't scratch that surface.
Yeah, there are certainly instances where you're like halfway through something quite complex, and then that music happens and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, because, you've just got to go back and do the same thing again. That is definitely a thing. But yeah, like, in terms of the ship controls, you do get used to it, and you do eventually, like... You start getting comfortable with,
it's not just that. It was the walking about and stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like using the jetpacks and stuff. The worst one that I had, I found the puzzle for the first time, and I started. It was like a staircases with like sort of statues on, or some sort of thing that you click on. And I was going down and I was doing them in sequence, and then I saw the next one, but then I fell into the water.
Right.
So I tried to boost up, but then something happened and I got stuck underwater, and I was kind of like, well, great, so now I've got to fly back to this exact point in this world to get back to this room, to walk down these stairs again to get that last... And I was just like, oh, come on, man. Fucking hell. So yeah, that's kind of why I bounced off of it so hard. James, did you play much?
I did, but I didn't play very much at all. I mean, I can really understand why Matt and Sean really like it. It's just that I didn't get hooked by it, like, because I think I played through about maybe two cycles, and I mean, do I have to play more than that for it to start to grip me? Do you think?
Oh God, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
So that's
the first I played for maybe like 2 or 3 hours before where I wasn't playing in like big gameplay chunks because I just didn't have time. So I was like 10 minutes there, half an hour there, and I was like, I'm enjoying it, but it didn't really grab me until I had like one, say like, I don't know, 3-hour session or 2-hour session, and I got to understand the systems. I got to understand, okay, these are the cycles. This is where I should be going. This is like this is something on the ship to show me what I've discovered. And it was only then that it really got me, and then I didn't really want to stop playing. But I think if you play it in quite a bitty way, like small sections here and there, I felt like it didn't grab me like I wanted to. But once I really understood, here's like the rhythm, here's what I'm exploring, I absolutely loved it.
Like definitely don't worry too much about like completely rinsing every planet before you move on to the next one. Like definitely just kind of fly around, try new things out, like get a bit of practice just flying, like get confident flying up to planets and then just kind of being in low orbit and actually planning where you're going to land rather than just being like, oh fuck, and then just hitting it, because that's what I was doing a lot to begin with. But it is like once you're in a planet's atmosphere, the ship sort of levels out, so that you're just looking like straight at the horizon, and then you can like get a bit of control and actually land properly, and you can sort of rather than having to explore everything on foot, you can just sort of stay in low orbit and kind of scan around and look for interesting things rather than just landing and being like, right, well now what? So that's a massive help.
Yeah, like you can fire your scout launcher is basically like a camera, like a GoPro, basically on like your gun. You fire out, and then you can take pictures as that thing like flies around each planet, and it's even like, oh wow, okay, so I'm seeing things I wouldn't be able to see because I can't. Or you can maybe like fire that scout launcher into something, and so okay, and I wouldn't be able to get into this normally, but I can now see inside this thing. Yeah. What does that mean? How do I get there? What am I seeing?
They've added a couple of quality of life improvements as well, Matt. I don't know if these were in when you. Yeah, it's just little things like, so when you're reading text, it pauses the universe.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? No. I think that's a setting, isn't it? Because I think I had that on anyway.
So it's when you go to put your suit on, it's like there's just some extra options there now, which is obviously like. I say it's a nice quality of life thing. Obviously, like depending on your reading ability, that could actually be incredibly useful. Because obviously, it puts if your reading isn't so great, like then that puts you at a massive disadvantage because you're trying to read through loads of stuff while the universe is about to explode or whatever. So there's a couple of things like that they've added, which is really helpful.
Cool. Well, let's get to voting. James.
Well, obviously I've got to go for Life is Strange, haven't I? I've got no choice there.
Matt.
It's Outer Wilds.
Sean.
It kills me. I love Life is Strange, but it's got to be Outer Wilds.
Well, I'm voting Life is Strange.
2-2.
I mean, Life is Strange 2, obviously we've loved it. We've all loved it. We've loved doing our spoiler cast. It's a great game, but yeah, I mean, Outer Wilds is my game of the year and one of my games of the last few years. And it's an all-timer for me. It's going to that list where this is just a very, very special game. And maybe it's, I love, for people maybe who don't love the concept of space, maybe it'll affect them differently, but I do. And as I said, things like Interstellar and that, it's like it all linked together in a stunning way that I've just wanted for years and years. I wanted a game that I can feel scared to go to different planets to see new incredible vistas and new environments, and it makes me think about my my own place in the universe. And I think this does that with utilizing music, utilizing characters, and their own stories. And it's such I can't talk about this game enough, and and articulate how much I love this game enough. Really,
yeah.
It's quite.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just going to say I can't remember the last game where I felt so physically present in it. I don't know if it's the way it feels, or maybe the sound design is probably quite a big part of it. But yeah, and it all feeds into that sort of fragility. You are very aware that you are a person in space. The fact that there can be situations where you have to get out and do a spacewalk, because your ship's been damaged or something.
Oh, it's so scary.
And you just have to get out of your ship in the middle of space, and your stomach just fucking goes. It
uses music so well to the point where when it's playing music, it's like, oh, this fits really well, or this really works with where I am. But also there are times where there's no music, and you can literally just hear the silence of space, and you're breathing. And when you're maybe trying to you have to maybe get out of your ship to do to fix it in space. Oh yeah, it's really scary, and you read it for you're a tiny little speck in the universe. Like you're here struggling because you also have like air and fuel. So you have like fuel for your jetpack. So again, you can't just be bombing around space on your jetpack because you only have a limited amount of fuel. You have also air, and the thing, and like when you run out of fuel, you have an option of like using some of your oxygen to like boost you around. So there's points where you're like, okay, shit, I've run out of fuel, but I need to get somewhere. I will like take off basically bits of my health to be able to like jetpack to safety. And there's just a lot of those moments.
Right.
Where,
All right, that's fine. But you know that feeling you were describing about when the sun goes off, and it's like accepting the inevitable. It's kind of like this, the way this is going to go, isn't it?
How do you mean?
You both know the Outer Wilds is not going to win this. You both know that the Outer Wilds is going out in round 1.
No, that's not true.
Well, you do.
Why?
Why? Because you've got 4 people that played and loved Life is Strange, and you've got 2 people that played and loved Outer Wilds, and 2 people that haven't played
Outer
it.
Wilds is the better game, Dave.
I don't believe that.
It's the thing.
But that's not the point.
It's
is
also
it?
entirely
The point
subjective,
is
and it's like
that there is absolutely no way Outer Wilds can win this.
well, no, I think it absolutely could and should.
Yeah.
How? Or okay, who's gonna change?
Well, that's up to you.
how is it up to?
Well, okay. So my answer is no one. Sean, we're not going to change. It's just not going to happen. It's the inevitable. You've got to be the bigger man's and say, do you know what? You're right. We all loved Life is Strange too.
I mean, but if it was close,
you're asking 2 people to vote against a game that they loved for a game that they haven't played. It's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, but equally,
we had a Life is Strange
off.
2 like spoiler cast where we all played it because we all loved it so much. We didn't do that for Outer Wilds.
No, because you haven't fucking played it.
Yeah, well, exactly, Sean. Exactly. This is the sun's going off. You've got to sit on your Outer Wilds, look over, see Life is Strange coming, and go, do you know what? It's the inevitable.
I don't agree, and Outer Wilds, like Matt says, it is easily one of the best games possibly of all time. The fact that it's going out in round 1 is fucking bullshit.
Well, that's what's happening.
That is bullshit. You know, I mean, yes, we've all loved Life is Strange too. It is excellent, but I've played other Life is Strange. I haven't played another game like this.
Yeah, like Life is Strange. Life is Strange 2 is great, and it's a very interesting and cool evolution of that Telltale model, and we've talked about that and how interesting the final episode did. But it's not close to the Outer Wilds.
No one's asking that question though, Sean. Right? You guys like Outer Wilds more than you do Life is Strange. We understand that. No one's arguing that, right? But what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? That either James and I are going to turn around and go, oh yeah, no, actually I will change my vote for a game that I don't. You both know it's not going to happen.
Because what really eats at me, right, is that I know James really likes sci-fi, and this is just such a good fucking science fiction game.
No one's arguing that.
Yeah, no one's saying it's a bad game or anything. We're just saying that Life is Strange 2 probably collectively meant more to all of us.
What I will say is that I went into this, and from what I played of Outer Wilds, I really didn't like it. Okay? But after hearing you guys talk about it, I'm thinking I need to go back to it. And I totally take that on board, and that's fine. But we're talking here, how are we going to progress? There's a way that we can progress with Life is Strange going through. There's not a way that we can progress without Outer Wilds going through. And you say it's bullshit, and that's fine, right? I get that, and I totally get your point of view, Sean and Matt, right? I'm not arguing with you about that, right? Because it kind of is bullshit because 2 of us haven't played it. But it's the only way we can go forward. It's the only logical thing.
That's the worst thing about this fucking pod. It's like if we'd all played every game, this will be. We'd all. I mean, I'm confident we'd all absolutely love this.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say to defend that is that I put about 3 hours into it, and I really didn't. It didn't click with me. Now, after hearing you talk about it, that makes me think, okay, I need to give it more time. But those opening 3 hours for me were like a brick wall. They were like, okay, I started out, I explored the first planet, I really liked it. First time I got into space, I had a great moment, and then I discovered a few things that weren't, I don't think, linked to the, like there's a bit where you, how do I describe this without spoiling it? There's a bit where you go into what looks like an asteroid and it's all misty and then you see a light. And you think, oh, that's weird, and then you head towards it and you're like, fucking hell, right? That moment was great. But since that moment, I went onto different planets and I found it really fiddly to play with, and I got really frustrated that I could be left in the middle of nowhere and would have to just start again, right? That's why I bounced off of it. So I'm not saying that makes it a bad game, because clearly I haven't experienced the game. Like, what I experienced is me trying to work out the game and not understanding that there was all this amazing stuff in there. I get that. But you look at these two games, you look at the shows and the votes, and there is no way that Outer Wilds is going through.
But I feel like...
But what, Matt? But what? I don't know what you can play.
We've all loved Life is Strange 2. We've all loved it, but I've played previous Life is Strange games, and that's just to say that as a in terms of which one is, like, say, like unique or provides a unique experience and contained experience, Outer Wilds is that.
Matt, no one's arguing that. No one's saying you're wrong. What we're saying is, when you look at it logically, there's no possible way that Outer Wilds is going past Life is Strange 2.
I mean, well, it's time to make deals. I don't know, like, what?
No, there's not. I mean, I'll tell you now, there's no deal that can be done that makes me change my vote.
But what do you like? Is this your game of the year?
Life is Strange 2? Probably not.
What is?
We can't say that now, can you?
Mind your own business. Yeah. I'm not going to reveal that yet.
Well, whatever it is, I will support you in that game.
Because it's probably Luigi's Mansion 3, and that's up against Outer Wilds in the next round if Outer Wilds goes through.
We don't know that, do we?
That is tempting. Huh?
We don't know it's up against what in the next round, do we?
Yeah, of course we do. Yeah, because they go one side of the tree or the other.
Yeah,
so it's always
they go into set places rather than being drawn out.
So whatever wins in this, it will be against Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah.
So there's no way Life is Strange 2 is going to win against Luigi's Mansion 3, is there?
I don't know about that.
Oh, bullshit. You do.
Oh,
you
come
do
on,
fucking know.
But you just...
Oh, see what you're saying. Right, I see your point. Yeah, so if the logic applies to this, then the logic must apply to that. Yeah, well, you're probably right then. You are probably right.
Yeah. So Life is Strange should go?
Yep.
No, absolutely not. Well, it's not going.
I thought you were disagreeing that we should vote Outer Wilds.
So all that's left now...
That's ridiculous, because then we're just stuck in the same situation, but in the next round instead.
Well,
possibly.
We'll see. All that's left to decide for this round now, Life is Strange 2 versus the Outer Wilds. All that's left to decide...
We've made our decision, Dave. That's not...
all that's left
two apiece.
All that's left to decide is which one of you two are going to change your vote.
What, are you talking to James, or...
Why would I say you two? I was just talking to James. One of you've got to change your vote. So you've got to decide which one's going to do it.
Well, we're not going to do that.
No, I'm not going to be giving up on one of my favourite games of all time.
Do you know, if this was round 2, I'd almost be tempted, but it is fucking criminal.
Do you know what fucks me off? Do you know what fucks me off the most, Sean?
Go on.
Right? Last year we were in this situation. Last year we were in this exact situation. And it was Astrobot versus Red Dead. And I was grown up enough to go, you know what? I see the way it's gone. I'll change from my personal game of the year to Astrobot. And neither of you are willing to do that.
Okay, if this is going up against like Luigi's Mansion 3 in the next round, then, you know, but by you saying, switching your vote and saying I'll vote for Outer Wilds, then... I will do the same in the next round. So you would have basically got...
That doesn't make any sense at all.
You're saying that if I vote for Outer Wilds now, you'll vote for Luigi's Mansion in the next round?
Yeah, I'm saying
okay.
If you want to get your game further...
Did you see that poll about who was the most trustworthy? You were bottom of that.
Yeah, but people love to hate me. Also, that was because Russian bots.
No way I'm agreeing to that, because you're full of shit.
I'm not full of shit.
Whatever I'm being offered is just, you know, I'm not sure if I can support this, because it's just... Life is Strange, we've all played it, we've all agreed that it was amazing. like that it was really good. So I don't see what the problem is here.
Well, I guess the problem is
problem
I'm going
is
to
that
die on this
Outer
hill called
Wilds
Outer Wilds.
Yeah, the problem, like, it's not just another game that we like.
No.
Like,
Come on,
Red Dead was that for me,
Listen,
Sean.
I've had this every year with any Yakuza game that I bring to this. And any time that I like any of those games, you're all just like, oh, whatever.
That is a good point.
So why should I care? Like about you saying Outer Wilds is really good. Why should I care?
because you would fucking love it, James.
Yeah, and you love your
kills me.
Yakuza
That's
Zero
what
because you
kills
bother
me.
playing it.
Sean. You both know that it can't happen. It's the way it goes.
I mean, this kills me, but I agree with David in this case.
Fuck you, James. The thing is, this is the computer game show's game of the year. It's not your personal ones.
Yeah, but the whole point is that we fight for our personal beliefs.
Yeah,
and
but you've
the
got
games
nothing
we
to
love.
fight against.
I have this game that I love, and it's incredibly special.
Right, okay. Are we going to change our vote for a game that we haven't played against a game that we both love?
I mean,
No.
what's it going to take for you to change your vote to support this?
What's it going to take?
You would.
Well, you can't. You saying that you'll do something is just pointless because you won't. We all know that.
I will. You have my words.
No, you won't. No, you won't, Matt. We'll go through to the next round and go, oh, no, actually, I vote for Elwolds.
I swear down this. If you
Matt,
get this,
you can say what you want. I don't trust you. But
I've got nothing else to lose. Like this is it.
0% trust.
I've got nothing else to lose. This is it for me.
Right, we
This
can't
game is it for
do
me.
this all fucking night. I know Matt isn't going to back down, so
This is it for me.
I feel fucking dirty doing this. I feel awful.
It's a brilliant game, Sean. I don't know what your problem is.
The problem is,
You all enjoyed it.
better.
Sean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I felt awful last year when I switched my vote to Astrobot, and it's a terrible feeling, but it's the only way we're going to progress.
fine.
And it takes a point where it's for the good of the show more than anything else.
Yeah, because no one needs to hear this go on any longer. Yeah.
I mean, is it for the good of the show that we just back down a game we love and
I do
I
it
feel like
every
we've
year,
made
Matt.
our point, Matt. There's nothing else we can do, is there?
it's only 25 to 10, Sean.
It's only when we're going 2 hours. We're only halfway through round one.
Yeah, but I've drunk half that bottle of whiskey.
No, you haven't.
Switch then. I'll make it worth a while.
I love how Matt's just gone. Oh, look, Matt's just gone. Oh, James is pissed. Come on, James.
James, right? Switch, and also let's go to a club.
Right, I'm changing my fucking vote, and I feel
No, Sean.
ill doing it.
Sean, no. Hang on. James.
Matt, we
No,
can't.
James,
There's no-
James. No, Sean, shut up. James, do you have Deliveroo where you are? James, do you have Deliveroo in Canterbury?
We don't know. Not where I live, anyway.
Would you have Uber Eats? Would you love a lovely McDonald's right now? I can do that. I can get that sent to your house right now.
Unfortunately, only because of where I live, only Just Eat delivers. There's no
Fine,
else.
I've got Just Eat app, man. What do you want? Pizza, burger, Chinese? You know, if I had half a bottle of whiskey, I'd be loving a cheeky little piece of it. You. I can get that sent. I mean, what flavours do you like? Mighty meaty, pepperoni, just cheese. I've got your address. I can do what I want. This is like the lamest version of swatting ever, but
I swear to God, James.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to fret, not bribe.
James, you're going to get into this game at some point next year. You're going to get round to it. You're going to fucking love it, and you're going to feel terrible about.
You're going to kick yourself next year. So
Wait, not as much as he did for Astrobot versus Red Dead.
Dave. Shut up with last year's talk. That's last year.
Shut up with last year's talk.
Shut up with last year's talk, bro.
Round 2, right? Red Dead didn't go out in the first fucking round. That's what really kills me.
Yeah, this game deserves more than that.
Well,
Sean's
Well,
already
here we are.
decided anyway.
Yeah,
Sean's official.
I've
Yeah.
fucking caved, and I hate myself. What's next?
So, like Gears 5, Outer Wilds is out. In the
I
first
will never
round.
cave in this game.
Let's
Matt, I hope I don't even need to say I am genuinely sorry. Like,
Don't talk to me, Sean. Don't you ever fucking show your face around this house ever again?
The next game on my list is Heave Ho, nominated by Sean Bell. Let's cheer ourselves up with a bit of Heave Ho, shall we?
Yeah. Heave Ho, like on paper, right? It's nothing. It's a game.
Paper, yeah.
It's like a 2D platformer. You co-op with your mates. Each character is basically a face with two arms, which you control with your analog stick, and then you grab with either hand with your shoulder buttons, and you just get in round levels and obstacles. But you have to work together, right? So one person's got to go to the end, an edge, and then someone's got to grab their hand, and then someone else has got to grab their hand. And it's, the controls are kind of shit, but that's the point. And you've got to really coordinate and plan things and work with the physics and swing each other around, people letting go at the right time, grabbing other things. Like on paper, that's kind of it. But I have not laughed as hard at any other game as I have at this. It is fucking hilarious playing this with other people. Like, I mean, don't play it on your own. We always get questions. But I haven't really got anyone to play it with. Is it worth playing on your own? You can, but don't. Like, it is just phenomenal how fucking funny it is. And, like so many games where, you're supposed to work together. Occasionally, people will fuck up and it's quite funny and you have a laugh about it. But after a while, you're like, right, come on, can we just, like, someone starts snapping, right? And someone's like, right, can we do this properly now? Can we get it done? I want to get on to the next bit. That point never comes with this game, or it never has for me. It never stops being funny. Like, every time you fuck up, it's hilarious. But like, and progressing is also fun, obviously. But I just, it's just endlessly hilarious. And obviously, and it's got little touches. Like if one person everyone has to get to the goal in every level, right? It can't just be one person that makes it. You've all got to get there. And, and then it does cool things. Like if one person gets to the end, there's like a switch. You can, if you're quite good at the game, you can pull a switch and then it introduces other things that help the remaining players. So like it does want you to progress, and it does give you a little helping hand. But it's just, I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. Like this is, it doesn't replace, something like Towerfall, which is like amazing as a versus multiplayer game. But like, any situation now where I've got multiple friends in the same room and a telly, like that, this is the first game I will insist on them all playing, like 100%. I absolutely adore it. Go on, Dave. Sorry, you're gonna.
I can't agree with you enough. More, what I mean? That I played a lot of this with Harry more than anyone else. And we were curled up on the sofa, just the hardest laughing from both of us at times, to the point where I had tears in my eyes, to the point where I was really struggling on a level that he'd done. Like, he was waiting in the goal, finally getting to the other side, and him letting off a fart and bouncing me out of the goal was just, honestly, struggling to breathe. I was laughing so much. And then, my wife joined in, and it was the three of us playing it. And again, just watching, because she was really struggling, obviously. And the amount of times she would, link hands with Harry, who was swinging, and Harry would let go of the wrong hand and either drop her or they both fly off the screen. Honestly, physical humour in this, slapstick humour in this is just so good, and because it's not scripted, it makes it even better. And it has great achievement moments as well, like when you manage to fling your partner over a whole obstacle course and they land directly into the goal, like the cheers that go up. I did so it seems now that I'm a child's entertainer for children's parties, because I've done 2 this year, and one of them was a gaming party. And I had to pick a bunch of games, and I thought, what would be good if it was all the kids versus me. It was like a 7-year-old's birthday party, all the kids versus me. So we played FIFA, and they were all on one team against me, and we played Fortnite, and they had to get into the top 20 to gain a point and all that sort of stuff. And then one of those games was Heave Ho, and I said, right, you have to get to the end of this world within 15 minutes. And just the laughter and the screaming coming from... I will talk about this party again a little bit later, definitely. But the laughter and the screaming, and it was just a really great experience. I mean, we played it at the Expo, which is just about as good as it gets for an experience at an Expo. because it was one of those games. It reminded me of when you guys played Snippet Clips, where you'd start playing and you'd have a couple of people waiting behind you to play it, but then all of a sudden so that happens, you start laughing and you hear everyone laughing behind you, and you look around and there's a fucking audience watching you play it. That's the sort of game it is. I mean, Heave Ho is essential. If you're in a position where you can play local multiplayer, then Heave Ho is essential.
Yeah.
But also there's way more to it as well. Like there's bonus stuff in there that is really just for a laugh. There's coins darted about the place that you can chuck into the goal, and if you get that coin, you then use it on a slot machine to unlock like different skins and stuff. I mean, there's way more to it than just that, and I didn't get massively far into it because it obviously gets way too complex for Harry. So we would just do the same levels over and over again and still really love it. Yeah. So I mean, that says a lot. Heave Ho is essential. If you've got a Switch and a bunch of people, you can play it on one Joy-Con without any trouble. I mean, it's a bit of
it doesn't feel like
hands,
because there's a lot of local multiplayer games on the Switch where you can just use one Joy-Con each, but it's a fucking struggle, isn't it? Whereas with this, it's totally.
Yeah, I mean,
adequate.
the only struggle is that the buttons aren't nice to hold down for a long period of time.
You need the little.
You can't use it. I mean, I don't understand people that use the Joy-Con without that little slidey thing on the top. It's mental, but I mean, essential. Great game. Game.
Yep.
What's it up against?
It's got to be one of mine, isn't it?
Why do you say that every fucking time?
Well, no, because everyone's talked so far apart from me, so it's got to be
Mario
one of mine,
Maker 2.
Ooh.
That's one of mine. So I was a big fan of Mario Maker on the Wii U. Great fun. Really enjoyed it. I felt that after a while, those question mark mushrooms that you got in Mario Maker, I mean, they were good, don't get me wrong, but you found them just being needlessly chucked into a million levels. So initially I was a bit disappointed that they weren't in Mario Maker 2, but ultimately I think that was probably the right decision, because Mario Maker 2 took what Mario Maker did, and although it's a slight step back in terms of control, just by the nature of what you're playing on, that Wii U pad was perfect for designing levels because you had it on the screen and you were drawing in the tablet, and it just feels better to draw on that tablet than it does on the Switch, even when you get a stylus. In every other aspect of that game, they've improved it. The single player stuff, like the stuff designed by Nintendo, is beyond good. The levels seem to be more and more creative, even more so than what you had in Mario Maker. And I think most importantly, they really sorted out the difficulty in this. So if I go into easy levels on the 100 Mario Challenge or whatever it is, it's just the level, like the difficulty of that level matched what you want. That was a problem with Mario Maker sometimes. Like you'd play it and you come across one level and you just think this is too fucking hard, like out of nowhere, and it was really frustrating. Whereas this, it seems to be consistent, so I can play it for longer periods of time without getting just pissed off. The only negative was the multiplayer, and that's only really a negative because, like, when multiplayer modes in single player games are shit, right? You get a bit like you can just ignore them. But the idea behind the multiplayer in Mario Maker 2, like the actual game they put in there, is fucking brilliant. It just doesn't work, and that is quite frustrating.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you take that away, like if you ignore that, the hundreds of hours you can put into this game without even... I mean, most of us have played it, and we've all had that moment where you're like, not really into making stuff in games. I think I'll just play it, but let me just have a quick look at what you can do. And then snap, 2 hours later, and you're still testing pipes out and putting blocks in different places. That doesn't work. This works, but that should be that. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I love my time with Mario Maker 2, and I haven't gone back to it in recent months. But that Zelda stuff they put in there looks fucking good.
Yeah, isn't it basically that's like a whole other game, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
like
apparently, yeah. It changes it so much that it feels like a completely new game.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Legend of Zelda Maker has been rumored or maybe just desired for a long time. Do you reckon this is like a test?
No, because I'll tell you why. Because they used to do stuff like this with Mario Maker all the time, where they just add something mental in, and it would completely change courses. You know, it would just blow everyone's mind, and then you'd see a whole direction of creativity in a different direction. So it doesn't feel like we should test out it. It feels like, well, this is what Mario Maker does. You know, this is just what we're doing. It's a similar thing we're doing for Mario Maker 2. I said I played it yesterday because I mean that was the other thing as well, and I guess the reason why this sort of pushed up into my top 4 was because like my nephew loves it, and every now and then I'm around my brother's house or whatever, and he'll just come up to me with his Switch and go, "Oh, can you play my level I just made?" And I'll sit and I'll play it in front of him, and for a long period of time I would come home from work and Harry would turn around to me and said, "Oh, I created you a new level." And we would sit there and play it together, and you know, it wouldn't always work. And some of them were just long roads that you pick up a star and then just run through a billion enemies and stuff like that. But we just enjoyed that time. That like the fact that he's made something like that, and he really wants me to play it. And he loved watching me play his level. It was it's great. It's great, and sharing levels is easy. And your streams, Sean, were great. That TCGS level was just absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, it's Mario Maker, and although you know most of what I love about Mario Maker 2 was in Mario Maker 1, I still feel it does enough to justify it for Game of the Year this year. Definitely.
But it also had like excellent single player as well.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The story mode in it is fucking brilliant.
That campaign was really good. Like
really
it was
good.
some of that was like top tier like 2D Mario stuff. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Some of the stuff.
But in the spirit
just...
of like, it wasn't just another Mario game. It was in the spirit of that sort of ROM hacking. You know, that sort of
it's what
approach
made it so
to level
interesting
design.
Because it's Nintendo creating a Mario game where they've got license to be fucking weird.
Yeah.
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
And they nailed it. They nailed it because they knew what they were doing, and it was just
I played a lot of games this year, but this and also Luigi's Mansion are the two sort of major blind spots. And I think I'm going to get both over the next couple of months. I don't know what the release schedule's like for January. I'm hoping it's quiet so I can like catch up on this and Luigi's if I haven't got.
I'd love to play. I'd love to. I'd love for you to get Mario Maker 2, Matt, because it'll get me back into it. Because what I'd want to do is design new levels, and as Sean knows, I have I'm not trying to big myself up here, but I have quite a good understanding of difficulty. So when I say I want to make you a level, I'm not going to make you a level that is just ridiculous that you're not going to get through. What I want you to do is play it and have fun with it, and it have some nice, clever things in it that you think, oh, that's cool, and try and find that sweet spot of, I'm dying a lot, but I can totally see what I need to do.
I will say that that aspect of it is a bit that sort of interests me the least in terms of like I was way more interested in this because it was a single player campaign, and maybe that will be enough for actually to inspire me to want to play other levels and or create my own. But like that part I've never really done much for me because I know I'm not really going to just be bothering to make levels. Maybe if there's
but the people that say that, I'll say this right: the people that say that haven't tried it out.
Because
because when you start making levels in this, as I say, when I play other games that ask you to create content, it feels like someone's coming up to you and saying, "Can you draw this really nice picture?" And you're like, "Well, no, I can't because I haven't got the skill or the imagination to pull this off." Whereas on this, it feels like, "Can you doodle on a bit of paper?" And you doodle, and all of a sudden you're lost in this little doodle, and you're just like,
but like the golf, that example you get there feels even worse. This because like not just could you create something in say Little Big Planet? No, this is like, can you create a Mario level? Can you create some of the greatest ever like 2D platforming levels?
No, you don't need to.
No, it's the other way around though, because the restrictions make it feel approachable. Because Little Big Planet was just like, here's a whole you can basically build entire games in this if you really wanted to. Whereas this is like, the building blocks of a Mario level, and that's what makes it work. It's the fact that it is relatively restrictive compared to something like Little Big Planet. Like it's not a full create your own game tool. But it's the context and the limits on it that make it work.
And what I'm talking about with that analogy is not so much what you're presenting at the end of it. It's more that if I was trying to draw a really detailed picture, I'd get frustrated with myself. When I'm doodling, I'm having fun, and I'm adding little bits and keep up the doodling. But you know what I'm saying? It's genuinely fun to put these things together because the tools that they give you are fun to use and the little sound effects and all that sort of shit that goes into it. And you go from, I'll just scribble a bit and I'll do this, to going, actually, if I remove that and let me test that out and see if that works, and that works, that's really cool. It's just beautiful. Like the fact that you can just press one button and you're suddenly in the level to test something out, and then you press one button and you can just edit it and change things on the fly like that. It's such an important thing in these sort of things. If you want like more people to create for your stuff, now don't get me wrong, Little Big Planet Dreams and stuff like that is way more complex and way more. The result of that is some more impressive stuff. Like there's not much in this that you'll go, wow, that's blown my mind. I mean, there's some incredible stuff in there, but a lot of it is just Mario levels, right? But the enjoyment of playing through them is great. And when a friend, someone you know, hands you a code to play their Mario level, all you're thinking about is them creating that level, and it feels so personal. It's really, really good, really good. I think it's been overlooked a lot because the buzz came with Mario Maker 1, and this is more of the same with some improvements. But you can't understate.
Do you think that the sort of I know at launch there was like issues with like, the multiplayer and like was that like
the multiplayer's fucked? It's still fucked.
It's a bit of a shame that wasn't there at launch. I think that really hindered it and sort of affected it.
The multiplayer's shit. You can't even consider it. It's fucking dog shit.
It doesn't matter though, does it? Because really, it really
doesn't matter.
It probably doesn't.
Really
but I think that affected it at launch. Because I put like, you can't play your friend. Was it the thing you couldn't play your friends' levels or couldn't?
No, you could play your friends' levels. You couldn't play the competitive multiplayer mode with your friends. Yeah. But you wouldn't want to anyway because it was a laggy piece of shit.
But also, they've added, like, they continuously keep adding new stuff to it all the time as well, which is really good. And also, they've they had the Zelda stuff recently, didn't they?
Which was great. That all sounds great. I can't wait to give that a try.
And also official accounts as well, like where Nintendo are like, sort of pumping out their own levels and stuff.
I need to get onto that then because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can follow them. They're good. There's some
That's
really
great
good stuff there.
Right,
I mean, Matt, I do need to. I could lend you the game.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah, like you said, I'll lend you it, and I was like, okay, I'm really excited to play this. Done that. But it didn't.
Please just remind me, and I'll send it to you because it's so good. It's brilliant.
I can't wait to see what you create.
I cannot wait. I just don't think I would, but maybe the game is so good that actually will inspire me to do that. But right now, having not played it, I think I'm not making levels.
No, it's not about being inspired, Matt. Trust me. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's not about being inspired. It's about you going, oh, right, all I got to do is draw. This is really easy to create. And then suddenly getting lost in it. And just thinking, you're not sitting there going, what's going to be a great idea here? Not initially, anyway. Initially, you're going, this is really fun, just like drawing little Mario things and then pressing play and then being able to play it. Like, it's just really fun. And then you just get lost. Like, I'm like you. I don't like making stuff in games. I like playing games. But when making stuff feels like you're playing it, it's a completely different experience. So I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll create some levels. And I want to see them. And the cool thing is there's no judgment. Like, there are times where we go, oh, maybe try this, maybe try that. But there's who cares? Like, really. It's
that's not true. You ripped the piss out of my levels.
Yeah, but one of your levels was fucking dog shit, right? Okay.
Prick.
Well, there was 2 ways to go, and one of the ways was just you couldn't get past, and it was like, well, what's the? Anyway, voting: Heave Ho or Mario Maker 2. Sean.
Do you know this is probably the one where I love Heave Ho, but I think I'm happy to chuck it under the bus on this occasion. Mario Maker 2 is absolutely superb. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mario Maker 2.
I was almost tempted to do the same.
Yeah.
Like I had so much fun with Heave Ho this year.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. Like
It's another one. I'm just happy to have brought it up again so that people know it wasn't just a flash in the pan. Like, we played it one weekend and then forgot about it. Like, it really is that good. Like,
it deserved to be on the list, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted it to go further than round 1, but I've got to vote Mario Maker 2.
Yeah,
Matt.
I mean, I think out of 2, I'm gonna go Mario Maker 2.
James.
Same.
Right, Heave-ho's gone. Shame.
it is. But as I say,
goes.
I'm just glad to have had the conversation about it again. You know.
Cool. Right, we all still good to carry on? Does anyone need the toilet?
Mara's fucking around. I might just see if she needs to go out.
I'm going to go to the toilet.
Cool. I'll be as quick as I can.
I think I might go to the toilet.
Oh, James has just texted me and said that he's absolutely fucking hammered.
He's been like tweeting. He's had half a bottle of whiskey.
It's terrible. Hello, who's there?
Hello.
Who's back?
Hello, Matt. God,
James, you are hammered.
this was a terrible idea, like a really bad idea. I haven't even got to explaining my games yet. This is why this is a terrible idea.
You're slapping your Are you there, Sean?
Where's Sean?
How bad are you, James?
I'm fine. It's all right. I can do it. It's fine.
You sound absolutely
I'm fine.
fucked.
Hang on. Have you had it with Coke, or what have you done?
Just drinking it now.
What?
You know,
Neat?
it's fine. Yeah,
Fucking hell.
it's
You're
fine.
not. No, it's not fine.
Sorry. I mean, this was
I mean,
not my
it is.
intention at all.
I mean, it is. It's funny,
Should have got a
but
mixer, mate.
It's not my intention. Like, what I was intending to do, I didn't know that all my games were going to get pulled out last, so I thought it was going to be fine. But now they've all been pulled out last, and I'm screwed, and I don't know what to do.
Sean, are you back?
But
Come on, can we get on with it, please?
I'm gonna do a sick.
Oh God.
Right,
do
okay, ready?
Yeah.
What happened anyway last? I don't remember.
Can we keep that in?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
We've just had a
we're
break,
back.
everyone.
James is fucking mullered.
I'm fine. I'm absolutely
No,
fine.
James,
There's
you
no
want to explain what you've done? We're basically 2.5 hours into this recording.
James is a
and-
man that I've seen get genuinely pissed on one beer. What have you done tonight, James?
I've drunk 3/4 of a bottle of whiskey.
Fucking hell.
Neat. There wasn't even a
Fucking
mixer,
hell.
James.
What, like a big bottle?
No, it's not a big bottle. It's
It's
not
only like 35 centiliter half bowl.
Yeah, it's only 355 millilitres, so it's not like massive.
But he has drunk half of it neat, so.
No, 3/4. But you know, it's.
It was half about 5 minutes ago. James, you should slow down.
Well, no,
Have you got
because
some
the thing
water with you?
Is I was not anticipating having to go last with all my games. Like I thought they'd get pulled out earlier,
But-
and this would be fine.
But were you anticipating recording at, say, 10:05 at night? Because that'd be a fair assumption.
Well, I know, but I thought it'd be fine. It turns out it's maybe not.
Oh, God.
Oh my god, our Game of the Year show. And like the game might be influenced by alcohol. Like
I mean,
the game
it's going to be at the end and like, okay, so Matt, where'd you vote? Sean, where'd you vote? Dave, where'd you vote? James? And just hear snoring.
James
We hear
just
that-
right up in the corner. Hi.
Mario Maker 2!
Dave, you just made me spat whiskey out all over my computer.
Yeah, I hate when I make you spit
Thank
with
God,
you.
I can't believe you made me spat whiskey.
Right, let's go.
We can't actually come round and pump your stomach. So the best thing we can do is make you spit every time you try to swallow.
Matt, is that Deliveroo Pizza still on?
Absolutely not.
Right, the next game I've got in front of me is Untitled Goose Game. It's mine. So you get back to your whiskey.
No. Do not get back to the whiskey. Have some water.
It's all right. I'm done. It's fine.
No, he's not. He's
you
not.
done,
He's going to finish
done
the
in
bottle.
like what, hammered, or does like you done drinking for type 2?
I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm
Just get a
okay.
mixer or have some
Fucking
water.
will. Untitled Goose Game is bloody brilliant, isn't it? It is bloody brilliant. Like
It's very good.
it's one of those games where we'd thought, it's wacky. the last thing it is wacky. It's not wacky in the slightest. We all worried that it was going to be like a what was it, that Goat Simulator style game. It's just not. It's just, I can't think of a game that's come out on this gen that has got tone so spot on. Like it sets its stall out and it keeps to it religiously and it pulls it off at every turn. The characters in it are hilarious. The incidental, the stuff that it wants you to do is funny. The stuff that it doesn't even suggest that you do is funny. It's if you saw this game, right? Untitled Goose Game. It's essentially a puzzle game where you've got to work out a series of different things to do to piss off local villagers as a goose. It looks beautiful because it's got this sort of very flat, cartoony pastel colour thing going on. So it looks pretty unique, but it works so well with the animation that surrounds it. It's just got this insane charm. Like, I found it so charming throughout the whole, it's only like 3 hours long, but those 3 hours are just, I didn't have a smile. Like, the smile was on my face from start to finish. I was just grinning from ear to ear, and I just think it was a massive surprise, because I think we heard about this game, and then we saw it at Rezzed, and all of a sudden there was a crowd of people just watching what was going on the screen, and everyone was laughing. It was one of those. And I was just like, I wasn't expecting that. I thought this was going to be a silly little game. And it's so much more than that. It completely blew me away. And by the end of it, the ending, there's been some great endings to games this year, no doubt. This is up there with them, because it just that final little elbow in the ribs and a wink. And I just thought, you didn't go too far. You could have. You didn't go too far. You got the tone perfect. And as James said, the way you put it, it's a children's book. You're playing a children's book. And I think that's the best description I've heard of that game. That's not a negative, by the way. Like for some, every now and then, when you're reading books to your kids, you'll find one that you think is genuinely quite funny and sweet and charming. And you quite enjoy reading that every night. Like the majority of them are like, shit. Like, the alligator goes to school and the alligator fell over, and it's just fucking hell. But then you get something like King Baby or Monkey Puzzle that you absolutely adore, and it gets everything right, and you're like, I want to read this every night to this kid. It's great. Untitled Goose Game is that. I think the title is the worst thing about it, because it's too wacky. It is too wacky.
Yeah. There's something sort of smug about
wacky.
it. Yeah, it doesn't actually fit the tone of the game.
Goosey Gander was one of the names that they proposed to it. That would have been fine, because that fits in with the tone. It's not, all right, it's a bit cheesy or whatever, but it's not. Untitled Goose Game sounds like we're different. And it is unique, but it is not. And
just it is titled. That is the title.
No, I know, but it's supposed to be a.
I'd prefer it if they. No, I know it's supposed to be. I mean, maybe it's just that. Yeah, it was originally untitled, but then that trailer came out calling it Untitled Goose Game, and it did so well. They just sort of went, "Wow, why rename it at this point?"
I don't know. I just thought. I just thought, that's the weirdest thing about it, the title, because the rest of it makes so much sense and works so well and is so full of just this beautiful visual comedy that half of it is intentional and half of it you're making yourself. It just, The first time you go in the shop, man, the TV shop is... I haven't met anyone that hasn't laughed at that. And I said that it was going to come up again later in the show. But that children's party that I was hosting, one of the games on it was Untitled Goose Game. And I said, right, you've got 10 minutes to get to the second area. So to do the garden bit. And at one point, all the kids were screaming at the screen while someone was dragging a rake, going, rake in the lake, rake in the lake. And when the kid that was controlling it got the rake in the lake, it was like a goal had just gone in at Wembley. Like, everyone just went nuts. Everyone was laughing, and that game is just pure joy. Pure joy. I'm so glad I played it. Who else? So, Sean, did you only play the first little bit, right?
I did. I just never got time to go back to it. Well, I didn't get time, but, just other stuff came up. I do really want to.
Well, the good news is it's coming to Game Pass. So,
oh, is it? Okay. No, I mean, I've got it. I've got it on Switch.
Oh, you own it?
Yeah, I do own it. I just haven't had a chance to
play
properly get into
through
it.
then.
I know it's only quite short, right?
Oh God, yeah, it's like 3 hours long.
Yeah, no, which is great, perfect. I'm quite happy with that.
But such a great experience from start to finish. It's Matt, did you play it?
I did. I enjoyed it, but probably not as much as you guys did. I thought it was good, but it never really got me. I think in the same way it's got you, and obviously plenty of others. I was good, and I'm really glad I played it, but it didn't.
Dead inside. James,
I played it and finished it, and thought it was tremendous. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Very good game, but what's it up against? That's the question we're all asking here at TCGS Towers. Fire Emblem Three Houses.
James, the wild card choice.
It is the wild card choice. There we go. See, this is the problem, because Sean is probably the better person to talk about this.
Well, why didn't you let him have the game?
You, James.
I should have done. This is what should have happened, because he was definitely more into it than me. But
Sean's going to do a better argument than you are in this case.
But no, it's definitely worth consideration, though, because, I mean, the approach that they take of providing, you got the war from, different perspectives, which is really very interesting. And the way that relationships are built throughout is very well crafted. I thought I did enjoy that quite a lot. And the other thing that, a lot of people complained about this, but I was quite into the whole, less focus on romantic relationships. Because that was, a big deal, wasn't it, from Fire Emblem Awakenings, Sean? That's right, yeah. Whereas with this, they don't really focus on it quite so much. And I thought that kind of worked. And I did like the way that all the maps are sort of generated, and in a sense that they're very well balanced. And there are different strategies that you can use to, you can try different strategies for each of those, which kind of shows that the combat system is quite diverse, which works very well. I don't think it really reaches the heights of Fire Emblem Awakenings, but I think it should be considered, because it still is an excellent game. I still think it was worth going through. Sean, do you have anything to add? Because you were definitely much more into this than I was.
Yeah, so this is the game I had to trade in, because I wouldn't shut up about it every week on the show, and I wasn't getting anything else played. It was my go-to game for at least 2 months, something like that. It was getting ridiculous. So I had to just get rid of it, because I was well into my second playthrough, playing it on hard mode. Absolutely loved it. The difficulty level thing was weird. I'm all for games that have rather than calling a difficulty mode easy, because people, there's kind of a negative stigma around that. I'm all for games that just go normal, hard, very hard, or whatever. But the normal difficulty mode here is really quite easy. If you've played any of the previous games in the series, at least. Sort of did one playthrough on normal, really enjoyed it, but it really wasn't too taxing. But then playing through it again on hard, it's fucking great. And like you say, the story is it's so close to being anime wank, but the fact that people were having sort of jokey arguments about which of the factions represented, the Tories or Labour or the Dems or whatever, and well, yeah, kind of. But it, and although that was mostly as a joke, there are really interesting conversations to be had there about you can play the story from any perspective, and no one's wrong as such, but you might have a favourite based on your own political leanings or just how you've interpreted certain events or certain points of view in the world, and it really is quite rich. And it's fascinating, playing through from, as one house and thinking what the deal is with certain other characters from other houses, but then playing through, as their houses, and suddenly you get a totally new perspective on them. Like, it's okay on the what you could call it like a cheap way of making you replay the game several times over. But I think it really works. I think it's a really fascinating way of doing it. And as I say, there are, like, I could sit down and have like an in-depth argument with people about which side is correct. Which of course none of them are 100%, and that's why it's fascinating. As you say, probably doesn't quite hit the highs of Awakening. It was a shame that, you know, when you get your units to assist each other in combat, in Awakenings and in a lot of the other Fire Emblem games, that was like, when you're viewing the combat encounter, that was like, you know, these cool little events would take place where like one character would dive in and take a hit for someone else, or they'd join in with an attack or something like that, and that was really cool and exciting. In this, you just get a stat boost if you've got other allies assisting you. That's sort of lame. But yeah, overall, I just found it hugely addictive. Like James says, the emphasis on just friendship over romance was really nice, because in previous games it's like, who do you want to have sex with? Well, there's certainly in Awakenings, I think that was the only one that, you know, it was implied that actual relations occur, because your children appear later in the game. Whereas in this, it's just wholesome friendships, and then kind of at the end, it's like, you know, you pick someone and you sort of, you know, get married off to them, I guess. But it's really not like a major point in the story. It's just a thing they added at the end, probably because they knew people would kick off if it wasn't in there. And it's much more just about being mates with your team and getting to know them and like helping them through their problems and stuff like that. And it's just really nice and wholesome.
I think also like the fact that when you see the other sides from your side, you know, you're looking at this, like the way they behave and the actions they take, and you're kind of like, this person is just clearly an utter bastard or whatever. But then when you're playing, you know, from their perspective, it is, yeah, there are reasons for it. You know, there's justifications for it.
It's not quite that simple. Yeah, totally. And it doesn't. A lot of them, it's not just like, oh, they are the enemy. Like, because you have, you know, like half the game, you're still at the same school with everyone, and you're still. Yeah, okay, you're different factions, but you're not really enemies. You're just kind of not as
competing
involved
with each other, aren't you?
With some,
like,
you know, the other houses.
Inter-house rivalry.
Yeah. It's friendly competition. Yeah, but then that sort of friendly rivalry is then sort of echoed and sort of played out beautifully in the second half, where things maybe get a little bit more serious. I think it's great. I think it's incredibly addictive, which in and of itself I don't normally consider a plus point, but it was, well, no, it wasn't addictive. It was just compelling. You know, it was like I just always wanted to do more. But
also, it's another one of those games where you know there's a lot of sort of replayability to it, and then you can keep going back to it and trying different strategies and stuff with which you don't get these days so much. I mean, it's a shame because like Advance Wars is done, like, isn't it? Well, we're probably not going to see another one of those, and this does feel kind of like the closest I think you can kind of get to that at the moment, really, on the Switch.
Yeah,
it's great,
totally.
But it's time to vote. Sean, which way are you going?
Oh, yeah, I was hoping you're going to do me last.
Nope, I'm going to do you first.
Oh, you've already played Untitled Goose Game anyway, so it's fine.
It's true. I can't really. I love Untitled Goose Game, as you say. Like Dave, it was that fact that we all went in thinking, oh, it's going to be one of them fucking games for streamers where it's like, oh, it's zany, isn't it? The fact that it actually, like, has like a really smart and often like. Sort of understated, but occasionally, like, you know, the sense of humour is quite understated, but then often there's just really stupid slapstick stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like, it is a fantastic game, but yeah, like, just for the amount of time I put into Fire Emblem, I've got to vote for that, haven't I?
Matt.
Fire Emblem.
Woo!
I'm voting Untitled Goose Game. Mm-hmm. James.
Obviously Fire Emblem, isn't it?
Shit!
Why obviously?
Well, because I'm the one who nominated it.
Well, you put it as your wild card.
But it's a good game.
I think that's the wrong decision,
well,
James.
I don't care, because that's what I'm voting for.
No, I know you don't, and I'm not. I'm not expecting you to switch, but I think it's the wrong decision. You know, Fire Emblem sounds like a good game. Don't get me wrong, but it sounds like a new Fire Emblem game. Whereas this was so incredibly unique that I and wonderful from start to finish. It's
I know what you mean, and certainly Untitled Goose Game going out first round is quite sore. But yeah, no, I've got to vote Fire Emblem.
So you're saying because it's unique. That's
don't go back to that again, Matt. Come on.
Well, you know, it's a different. I'm not fucking crying about it, Matt. Right?
I mean, you are. Are you just trying to hide it?
No, I'm fine. I mean, I love Untitled Goose Game. If it would be up there, it would probably make the final in mine. But whatever. It's for the show. Let's see what the next game is. Understand it. That's what I'm dreaming to see. Judgment.
Brilliant.
James.
I know it's going to be Judgment versus The Walking Dead, isn't it? It's like that's what's going to happen.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Because we get 30 minutes of you just talking. Because it's been incredible so far.
Arguing with himself.
This is what I was worried about, because
cunt.
this is terrible. Because the thing is, I mean, I know that Judgment is a really tough sell, because none of you
It's
have,
also
played
a really
this.
hard title to say when you're pissed.
It's fun.
It's not a hard sell, James, because I am up for this. It's just time.
Really? Why?
Because Yakuza.
5 minutes of
when
Yakuza you
put,
played that you didn't go back to. I mean,
but I
come
did
on.
really like it, and
you
I'm
didn't.
way more behind the idea of like that, but you're playing a detective rather than a crime boss. So
Okay.
I'm theoretically,
This
He's
is gonna be a
sobering
mess.
up. We need to get him on mic as soon as we can, Sean.
This is going to be a mess. I'm going to try and explain why I like this game. This is really hard.
Why did you do this? You know you can't drink.
Because I didn't know it was going to be right at the end, did I? I thought it was going to be
It's not
fine.
right at the end. We're about halfway through. We're not even in the quarterfinals.
But I didn't know that I was going to be doing these last. I thought I'd be first.
Go on.
Okay.
just do your best, mate.
Yeah, deep breath.
Okay, here we go.
At least
So
one
anyway-
one of us wants you to succeed. Go on.
The thing is with Judgment is that, I mean, it sets in Kamurocho, which feels like it's improved with every iteration, because they've really completely nailed that to this point. And it's brilliant to see another story that's in this setting. Because one of the things I was thinking about with this game, compared with other games we played before, was Grand Theft Auto 4. Now, the reason I mean that is not so much because of the gameplay mechanics or anything, but in the sense that I remember saying that with Grand Theft Auto 4, it always felt like there was the opportunity for more stories to be told in that city, and like stories from like different perspectives and everything. And that's what I feel they've managed to do with Judgment. Like they've really managed to sort of like look at a different side of the city, but then take it, from this side of a detective instead. And it manages to balance like the really weird sort of the side mission stuff with a really compelling story that shows the city and its people in a very different light, which is kind of nice. And I mean, the thing is the side missions are some of the best that I've played in like any of these Yakuza style games, and it's the first time that I've tried to complete all of them, and I didn't want the story to end. I mean, I remember like I tweeted a picture of like the end of this game, and it was just like I'm really sad that it's gone, because it's one of those worlds where it's like, every time that you have like a really like sort of crap day or whatever thing, you want to kind of escape to this, because the story, although it's not like maybe as personally impacting as like something like Life is Strange, I really feel it's like the quality of a really good drama series, and it's just so well put together. The way and even things like the combat systems, the detective stuff that they added to the game also worked reasonably well, like through most of it. And it's something which I think they can explore, in later games. But it's just, you feel that you have so much agency in this, compared with maybe even with like Grand Theft Auto, you feel like you have more sort of like influence on what's going on in the world. And it may not be my favourite game in this series, but it's definitely like one of the best games I played this year, because I couldn't stop. It's like every night I came back, and I mean, even my wife was sitting there watching me play it, because I mean, Chen hates games, but this she found interesting, mostly because of the story, because they really told something, like an interesting sort of development with that. It was good. It's a very good game. I enjoyed it very much.
Cool. Should we see what it's up against?
The Walking Dead final season. Go on.
Oh, it's could be one of my games, isn't it? Jesus, that is the worst catchphrase of anything ever. It's actually The Walking Dead.
Oh, no. Oh, James. I'm so sorry.
Go on, James.
Okay. You see, this is. I mean, you were trying to kill this before I even got in there, which annoyed me, to be honest, because the thing is, right, is the first series of The Walking Dead like meant a lot to all of us, and then you're oh, I don't care, not bothered about this one at all. And I mean, obviously the series kind of lost its way because of the way that sort of Telltale, like, there was like the commodification of like all of their series, which was kind of a kind of a shame. And I did have very low expectations for this final series, but it really did absolutely exceed them. I mean, it doesn't. Okay, obviously it doesn't match the first series in the sense of like the relationship between Clem and Lee, but it does sort of replay the adult and child dynamic that you got in that, and where you have in this case like a teenager who isn't entirely sure of herself, compared with like a like a grown up adult. But there are, I mean, I feel there's a lot of parallels with this with the recent Life is Strange 2 that we've talked about, and the way in which the decisions impact directly on the way that somebody else develops. I mean, that was one of the things from Life is Strange that we saw, how you've got like, the way that Sean behaves, what's his name? Daniel? That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel
character you care loads about. Yeah.
Daniel totally
You were
picks
doing
up on
so
that.
well on that one. You were doing so well.
But anyway, Daniel picks up on that. But you get the same thing with this. So in this game, you have like obviously you're playing as Clem, but she's like protecting AJ, who is like what was his birth? I can't remember. I've forgotten.
What was
anyway,
his birth?
No, as in like he was like a character that has grown up in this sort of like post-apocalyptic world, which is maybe a little bit different. And what's interesting though is the way that again, it's the way that you behave and the way that your behaviour affects the way that he behaves as well. And although it's not quite as subtle as with Daniel, it still works really well. And what's really interesting about it is because obviously there's this he's growing up in an incredibly messed up world, which leads them to a lot of sort of really moving moments as to him, with like Clem trying to explain how, it's wrong to murder people. You shouldn't kind of do this, and him kind of getting used to these, these ideas. And I don't feel that Clem's journey is any less interesting than Sean's. It's just that maybe it's not presented in quite a sort of, such a slick way as it is with with Life is Strange. But both of them totally nail their endings. And the thing that I talked about earlier, which I really believe, is that The Walking Dead had a lot more to do, given the mess of all the preceding series that have gone through it. And I just think this deserves recognition, that they managed to land this ending so well. And it's a very good game. But there you go.
So is it an ending? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's a complete conclusion to the series. And it's it's absolutely worth playing. Especially if you enjoyed any of the previous ones.
Yeah,
I mean, you could probably play.
I did enjoy them, but I just felt like I fell off it, which is sad because, like I said, the first one is just such a special game. But I just didn't. I mean, I did bother after that because I did 2. I started 3, and then I just think I dropped off at that.
Yeah, I was the same. Yeah, I think I might drop off midway through 2. Actually, I can't remember. I don't really know why I stopped playing it.
I think a lot of people did, and I think it's because of the way that Telltale just were like flooding the market with this stuff, and I think people started to get a bit bored of it. And
it felt less of an event when an episode came out because we'd had everything from Telltale.
And there was also always constant technical problems as well, which they completely fixed with this as well. Yeah.
Before we go on to the vote, I have also been playing Judgment.
Whoa!
I mentioned it.
That's right. Yeah, you posted a video.
Yeah, I mentioned it in a video. I was like, actually, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I've been playing it then, and on the pod, I was like, I even had notes of what I was going to say, and I thought during the pod, actually, I'm not going to mention it now. I'll save this for Game of the Year stuff. And so for the last 2 pods, I'm like, I've just been playing Sekiro. But I'm playing a little bit of this actually, and I must say, I mean, it was cheap. I think maybe on Black Friday, and I wanted to give it a go, and I thought, why not? And I'm only 4 or 5 hours in, but I'm really enjoying it. Hugely so. I absolutely love the atmosphere. I love the vibe. I think the character models look really, really good, which really helps with sort of engaging with the story and the characters. And I'm really interested to play more actually. But yeah, I'm glad I gave it a go. I mean, obviously, I haven't played the Yakuza game before, so I'll be interested to know how different this is compared to a Yakuza game. I mean, but what would you say are the major differences between this, James, and a standard, if there even is such a thing, a standard Yakuza game?
Mostly down to gameplay mechanics. That's the main difference, because I mean, Yakuza really just focuses on the combat, whereas with this you've got the sort of exploration and sort of tracking people down and that kind of thing, and hiding from people and that kind of thing. It's,
okay, cool. Yeah, because that's the stuff that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, James. Based on that, do you think that I might actually get something out of this?
No. I mean, you see, the thing is if you would give it like longer, I think you probably prefer Yakuza. I don't know. Although maybe you'd like this. I'm not sure. It's really difficult to tell. I mean, it's difficult to tell because you've liked like Shenmue stuff that I thought you wouldn't like. So maybe this is more your thing.
Maybe I need to give it. Yeah,
but yeah, Judgment. I absolutely love the story. I love the setup. And I'm really enjoying sort of like following people down dark alleys and having to duck out of the way so they don't know I'm following them. And like, I'm trying to understand the story of this like former Yakuza boss and how he like links in with things. And I think that's excellent. I also I absolutely love the detail of like the various sort of locations you go in, like shops and bars and restaurants. I think it's absolutely excellent in that regard. I'm really interested to try more because I haven't really played a game like this since I guess Shenmue, really.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
There are similarities, I think, to Shenmue, but it has definitely gone in its own direction as well. And it's just, I mean, the thing is, the criticism you can always have for this series is the fact that they do keep going back to Kamurocho, but it's become so like detailed and so like it's such an interesting location to to explore anyway. And over each game, they always make changes, make sort of iterations on it that it's always worth going back to.
So in terms of this, I mean, I know we're talking about Yakuza, but whatever. So the comparison is like this has more mechanics, would you say? So is the other one more of a beat 'em up then? Because when in this game, I'm sort of walking down the street and I get like a bunch of thugs just startle me and have to beat them up. It's fine, but I'm not like, okay, I just want to get this out of the way because I want to actually get on with the the story.
That's
all the time then in Yakuza.
Yeah, Yakuza is much more focused on that.
That doesn't really interest me, but
it's annoying more than anything.
Yeah, you should try this, Dave. I mean, I'm only like 4 or 5 hours in.
I think I will.
Yeah,
I will.
It looks great as well. I love the character models and that.
I mean that is another thing which they've really nailed with this. I mean, it's the visual quality is amazing. This is why I'm so looking forward to going like to Japan soon and like going and seeing these places because. Yeah, I just want to see what it really looks like. It's
cool.
Right, these are your games, James. Which way are you voting?
Well, I'm obviously voting Judgment for this because I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, Walking Dead was a big surprise to me, like how much I enjoyed it, but still Judgment was the one that I enjoyed more, I think.
I will say that I think I kind of made my mind up that whatever way you voted, I'd vote. Because there's both yours. I haven't played either of them. But more importantly, saying what you're saying about Judgment there gets me interested. There's no way I'm ever going to play the Walking Dead final season, so I'm going to vote Judgment. Sean?
Yeah, same logic. I'm sure Walking Dead is very good. But probably never going to bother, whereas I'm actually planning on getting Judgment done at some point. So, yes, Judgment.
Judgment is a really good place to start as well if you're in any way interested in the Yakuza series. Like it's like a standalone, so you can play that and not feel that you're missing out on anything, I think.
Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm going Judgment for sure. And I know you've historically, James, I think you've always said, is it like Yakuza 0 is the one to start off if you haven't played a game like this? But having started this now and enjoying it, and then you saying that actually the other one's more about fighting, I'm actually more interested in this because actually this means I can be a different day. I'm the hero at the start of a new franchise. I mean, do you think there will be other?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be more of these.
Okay, well,
it did really well.
That's good. And I'm really glad I played it. So I'm going Judgment.
Cool. Next game out of the hat, ladies and gentlemen, is Gris.
Hey.
Did you see?
Is this the last two now?
Yeah, last two. Just on this subject, Sean. Did you see that? Greece won a bunch of awards.
Yes.
There was. I don't know what country it was, but they did a news report on it, and they were explaining that Greece had won a bunch of awards or whatever. But where they put the image at the back, so they showed a clip of the creators going up to get their award because I think they won it at the Game Awards, right? Mm-hmm. But when the news reporters are like talking about it before it goes to the clip, they had an image in the background, and it was of like a Gris video game. With John Travolta was in the background.
Oh fuck! Jesus Christ!
It was so funny. Because obviously they said, what game is it? Gris.
game is
So
it?
they've just searched Gris video game and then whacked this like So
Oh, fuck me.
it's so funny. I need to send it to you. It's really funny.
So, I know people keep joking about it on Twitter. It's pronounced Gris, because it is Spanish for the colour grey. But yeah, I'm just going to call it Gris for the rest of this because I'm just going to get the pronunciation wrong and embarrass myself. It is a 2D platformer about grief and loss and the generally accepted, the 5 stages of grief. Not that everyone necessarily goes through all of them or in the same order, but it takes each of those and builds, levels of a video game out of them. You play as this one character, and it's each level. It's a 2D platformer, and there are puzzles, but none of it is difficult, right? It's primarily it is a game about moving through the world and engaging mechanically with it a bit, but it's very much by design. It is not particularly taxing, which some people didn't like it for. I thought it was perfect because it's so beautiful to look at and listen to. The soundtrack is incredible. All the art is so this was worked on by a Spanish illustrator called Conrad Rosset, who is incredible. And that doesn't always work, right? We just get an illustrator to make a game, especially with something like a 2D platformer. But he's really applied what he knows to sensible, readable level design, right? It all works. It's not just illustrations that actually don't really work as levels of a video game. It's all you can parse all of it, and it all makes sense and works beautifully. And the attention to detail in the animation is just incredible. There's entire videos about it on YouTube about properly analyzing the hell out of it. It's just so beautifully done. And it's just obviously I've lost relatives. Luckily, no one that I've been too close to. So I actually wonder if this didn't resonate with me as much as it could have, because obviously it's about death, right? It's the implication is you start off and you're sort of being held by this giant statue of a woman, which obviously represents the fact that whoever this person is that she lost is is the huge source of support for her. And then this statue crumbles away and she falls down to earth, and just that. I just love that image of having someone in your life who's so important to you that they're this fucking giant statue and you're just kind of sitting in their hand. That's how huge their influence is on you and how protected you feel by them. I just thought that was a beautiful way of illustrating that. And then the fact that, you gain abilities as you go through each level and you sort of can move through the stages of grief. It's not the most complex, metaphor, but I think it's just really beautifully done. I love the fact that it wasn't insanely difficult. It really, in the final level, it really sort of pulls everything together and it is a really interesting, fully fledged 2D platformer. But I just found the world such a joy to move through, that the fact that it wasn't too tough, I thought it worked really well, because I've played other games that try and do similar sorts of things, but then you reach a difficult bit and you're not thinking about what the game's trying to tell you anymore. You're just trying to do a hard, stupid bit of a video game, and it's really distracting. So I really appreciate the approach they took with it. I think it's an incredible game, and I really wanted to get it in because so many people were because this came out in December 2018.
Yeah, just after
so it just missed the draft, and so many people were fucking make sure this gets in. So I just really wanted to give it a shout out, because there was a good chance it's going to get missed by a lot of people. Although, as you say, it's picked up plenty of awards and stuff, which is really cool. I love it.
Cool. All right, and we all know what it's up against. The last game out of the hat, Disco Elysium. That's not one of your shorts, right?
It is, yeah. Disco Elysium is my game of the year, probably top 3 all-timer. It is it's styled after your sort of, Dungeons and Dragons style role-playing games. It looks like Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale or Planescape Torment or, you know, any of those. But it picks up where like Planescape Torment left off like 20 years ago, right? In that Planescape Torment was a really cool and interesting game because it was a Dungeons and Dragons game, and there was, you know, fighting giant rats and shit in it, but it had this huge emphasis on dialogue, and that it was like, you know, 20 years ago, it was really revolutionary that it's like, oh man, you don't necessarily have to fight everyone. Sometimes you can talk your way out of situations, and it's really interesting. And yeah, Disco Elysium takes that and it removes the combat essentially. Like everything you do is just by dialogue choices, and it has this absolutely fascinating system where all of your skills, which, you know, again, in a typical RPG, it's like, you know, strength and dexterity and intelligence, and it breaks down every part of your persona into like these, is it 24 different stats, Matt, I think? And they're all just these different facets of your personality, and the more points you put into them not only affects how good you are at certain things, but also how likely these different bits of your brain are to chip in during certain, you know, conversations, and sort of give you bits of information or tell you how to deal with certain people, like to the point that you have like full conversations with bits of your own brain. And like that alone is interesting enough. The fact that it tells a story about this incredibly flawed cop who has woken up after going on like a 3-day booze and probably drugs fueled bender, to the point that he's completely lost his memory and by all accounts was kind of a shithead beforehand. And so you get your chance to reinvent him if you want, or just be a nihilistic shithead all over again if you really want to. The writing is just absolutely unparalleled. Like it is the most intelligently written game I have ever seen. It, you know, we talked a lot about this year about developers and publishers who, you know, deny that their game has any sort of political leanings, and Disco Elysium just like totally refutes that. It definitely has its own viewpoint, but that doesn't stop it from exploring alternative viewpoints just as effectively. Like you can be, like I say, you can be a total arsehole, right? You can be a fascist or a centrist or a full-on communist, and it deals with those things so well, and it doesn't portray any of them as perfect. As I say, you do get a sense of how the developers actually feel, and I think that's important. Because they are trying to communicate something, but it's just so fucking clever how it's done. And as I say, like what I played of like the Outer Worlds was cool, but Disco Elysium makes the writing in Outer Worlds just seem like garbage. Like the fact that Disco Elysium is so clever and so nuanced in the way you have conversations with people, that to then go back to like intimidate or lie is just like, it's just not interesting anymore. It's funny, it's incredibly sad, it's like really quite horrible at times. There's one fight in the game, which, you know, obviously any other RPG you fight people all the time. There is one fight in Disco Elysium and it's horrible. Like it's so stressful, and obviously that's completely by design and it works so well. It's just, fuck, I fucking love it. The world it builds is just absolutely fascinating. It's got, you know, elements of the real world, but sort of changed around, reappropriated. It's, you know, it's a fictional world, but it has a lot to say about ours. I absolutely adore it. And it's like, you know, when a game just like fucking permanently takes up residence in your head. And like to the point I've been like distracted at work because I'm just thinking about Disco Elysium, and you know, if anyone asks me why I'm just kind of staring out the window, I've got no fucking answer for them that sounds normal. Like it's just, like it's just such a good game, and it's such a shame that this year it's been PC only, because I know that has meant a lot of people have not been able to play it. But fingers crossed, console versions are en route. So yeah, I can't wait for more people to play this next year.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Outer Wilds, this will be my game of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. And earlier, Davey said about whether a game's got tone right as much as a Goose Game this year. And I think this game has, and more so. Like, the atmosphere it creates is really unlike anything I've really had in a long old time. And I've never played a CRPG before. I haven't played Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate. A mate of mine played when we were younger, but I basically haven't played any games like this whatsoever. Once again, it's another one of those games I saw a review. I think it's Simon Cardy's on IGN. And it's like he was raving about this game. I'm like, well, I'll give it a go, and I didn't. And then I think Sean, you got like review codes, and then we got review guides that said 60 hours. I'm like, I'm not going to play a 60-hour game. And it's such a shame because I heard it's so good. And then I played it, and then kept playing it, and got dragged in to this incredibly emotive world. Like the writing is unbelievable. It's just so good. Like even I played this my game clock was far higher than Sean's for God knows what, for whatever reason. But even regardless,
show off.
But even then, I was still reading every single line of dialogue, every item I saw that I could read or see in the world. I was reading and engaging with. Everything adds to the atmosphere. The stories you come across, not just your own story, but like the story of like side characters, are equally as well written and as engaging. People I might meet for like one section of the game, I'm still thinking about afterwards or at the end. Everything is just multi-layered in terms of the messages it's saying, the place in the world that character is, and how that affects your story. All the various like elements of your psyche, as Sean was mentioning, like 22 plus skills you get are like interesting and make every sort of dice roll when you come to a decision or a choice different. There's also those other things we mentioned on the pod a while ago, Sean, whereby you like get to like put like skills into extra thoughts. Well, which is also really interesting. It's like another layer on top of like your psyche. There's also other things which you'll gain from talking to different people, and then you can decide to like essentially like level up, I guess, that certain thought, and then that will give you bonuses. And
it's literally like someone introduces you to the concept of racism, and you can be like, should I become a racist? and that's a thought that you can internalize and think, and then it affects your stats. Obviously, there are good ones as well, but it's just an example. It's just as you get introduced to ideas and viewpoints, you have this option to be like, let's think on that and see if that's something I want to become part of me, And it's a fascinating system.
I think actually it looks absolutely gorgeous as well. I'd mentioned this in the pod, but obviously this game had been like shown off at previous EGXs and Res for a while. Like, I always saw like the massive like Disco Elysium stand, and I thought I just don't like the look of like that main character, because it was like a.
He looks awful.
It looks awful, but it's like a painterly style like image of like a man with like a red nose. I was like, that looks grimy and disgusting, and I just don't want to have any part of it. Yeah. And now I'm thinking, like, why was that game ever EGX or Res? Like, I can't understand how that game would ever even like work well.
I don't
15-minute gameplay demo.
Yeah, I don't think I would have liked it if I'd played it at EGX, or I certainly wouldn't have grasped quite why it's as important as it is. And as you say, like the main character is like he's an alcoholic. He looks like shit. He's got a stupid haircut and mutton chops. But you just it's the beauty it finds in people's frailty and their flaws and the the situations they're put in and the things they do to get by in a largely shitty situation. Like it's so cynical about power structures, but really believes in the people that have to live under them. It's such an interesting viewpoint.
Even like the vision of the main character, like your own vision of yourself changes. There's like a mirror in like the place where you go to, where you can sleep and save and start the next day in the game, and like there's like an image of yourself in the bottom corner, and that changes depending on how you view yourself based on the skills you've learned and so on.
And you can just not look in the mirror and never know what you. Yeah. Like the little portrait in the bottom just stays this like weird blurry mess, like because you've lost your memories.
Yeah, but for a game, I saw the reviews and then heard it's like really long game, and I was like, hang on, I've never played a game like this before. All that stuff. I'm so glad I played it. I'm so glad I experienced this type of game. And it makes me want to try more games of this type. But the writing, the characters, the atmosphere, the tone, it totally sucked me in. I'm so thankful I played it. And and just like Sean said, when it comes out console next year, so many people are going to be raving about this. Whereas they couldn't play it this year because it was on. It's not only just like Steam, but also PC only. Like I had to install Boot Camp on my Mac to play it so I can play it on Windows. But absolutely fantastic story, really unique. I think it's going to stay with me forever now. Just that story and the things I did with them characters. And if it wasn't for Outer Wilds, this would undoubtedly be my game of the year.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get to voting. I'm pretty sure I know which way you're going to vote, but Sean.
I mean, obviously, I love Gris. I've spent too much money on the collector's edition and everything, but unfortunately, Disco Elysium is, I mean, I think I've been quite clear.
I'm going to go Gris. No, I'm going to Disco Elysium. I'm going Disco Elysium.
James?
I'm going Disco Elysium as well because Gris was bang
You've got
average.
to say it right first.
Easy for you to say. James, I mean, as I was playing...
James, have you stopped drinking?
Yeah, I've stopped.
No, but start drinking water. Start drinking water.
I've stopped. I swear I've stopped.
That was not convincing at all. Oh, fuck. And, I mean, I think Sean and I were texting as we were playing Disco Elysium. I think we both agreed, James, you're going to absolutely love this game when you get to play it. I think we both kept thinking about you throughout because I think it's definitely a game up your street.
Absolutely.
I want to play this game.
Yeah, so do I.
You'll really like it.
That's to me. I'll go Disco Elysium as well then, so that's through.
Whee!
Now it is time to get to the quarterfinals, and this is where things speed up a little bit. We don't,
thank God,
we don't go through the game. Yeah, it's been a long one, so let's do it. Right, first quarterfinal is Tetris 99 versus A Plague Tale. Matt,
I mean, I'm definitely still going to go Plague Tale. This is it's a hidden gem that sadly not enough people played, but I think everyone who has played it will agree it's brilliant. So
okay,
I'm going to go A Plague Tale.
I'm Tetris 99 all the way. James,
you can't beat the Tetris. It's Tetris 99.
James,
apparently you can with alcohol.
You can't beat the old game of Tetris.
Sean,
99. Gotta be, mate.
Well, that's a real shame.
I would really like to play A Plague Tale.
Yeah, everyone should play it. That's a real shame. I'm pouring one out. I'm glad I put it in. Plague Tale.
Like Life is Strange 2 or Luigi's Mansion 3. Sean,
Tough, isn't it?
Initially, I'm going to say Life is Strange 2.
James.
I'm going to say Life is Strange 2.
Wow, okay. Luigi's Mansion 3 for me all the way.
Yeah, it's Life is Strange 2 for me.
Shit. Okay. I honestly didn't see that coming.
If it wasn't against Life is Strange, I thought that was going to be like a finalist, but
I thought James was going to go Luigi's Mansion 3 because
I love Luigi's Mansion 3, but I just love the other one more.
Oh man, okay. Oh, that sucks. I didn't see that coming either. I thought Luigi's Mansion was going to go through that round. Okay, well, that's the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mario Maker 2 or Fire Emblem?
This could be a tough one.
Mario Maker 2 for me, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
James?
This is also really tough for me, to be honest, because even though I nominated Fire Emblem, I really like Mario Maker a lot.
Yeah, well, you did nominate Fire Emblem, did you?
You put it on the end to screw Sean over.
Can you go for someone else first? And then I'll come back.
All right. All right, Sean.
Do you know, just because of how interesting it is and all the cool, the fact that it enables creation as well as just playing it, I'm happy to see Mario Maker 2 take this one.
Sean,
cool.
What? No.
What?
Why?
Mate, you've not played it.
No. I'm not talking about me, but Sean, you literally hammered it, and you had to sell it because you were so addicted to it, and now you're choosing another game.
Yeah.
Hang on.
What? No, which way are you voting?
No, hang on. No.
Well, no. Let's get the votes out of the way.
This isn't
vote.
a deal.
Shut up, James. Something's happened here. This is a deal.
No.
You have struck a deal with David, definitely. There's no way in hell...
With Dave?
Sean...
Oh, right, yeah.
Everyone shut up. There's no way in hell Sean would not choose the game he loves.
We could talk about this afterwards. When it goes 3-1, it's not definitely out. So, which way are you voting?
This is...
Matt's voting Fire Emblem. James, which way are you voting?
Mario Maker.
Right, so it's 3-1. Now you can question it. Because he could change.
Okay, Sean, what's Dave offering you? Clearly
he's offering me nothing now.
Why do you care? Why do you care, Matt?
Because I'm just confused that Sean, the Fire Emblem liker that sold the game,
I was quite surprised.
And now he's voting for. Have you played Mario Maker, Sean?
Yeah.
How much you played of it?
I streamed it. I had a proper good time.
Yeah, but Fire Emblem.
Look, this is right. It's Matt going round 2.
No, I don't think
artificially.
I don't care about myself. I'm just thinking like it's very strange.
Piss off, Matt.
I've got no horse in this fight or dog in the fight, whatever the phrase is. I've got a horse in this fight.
Oh my god!
No, but come on, it's very strange, Sean, that you'll be choosing a game like Mario Maker when you're obsessed.
They're both brilliant. I just on paper, I can point out flaws with Fire Emblem, right, and things that it doesn't do quite as well as even get previous games in its own series.
There's a whole bunch of flaws.
A game you love, though.
Yeah, I loved it, but it does have flaws. Whereas Mario Maker is aside from the online not fucking working.
Just the way you said that, it sounded like you had the bottle in your hand. There's a whole bunch of flaws.
It's fucking shit.
Right, so we're done with that then. Fire Emblem's gone.
I mean, whatever Dave's offered you, Sean, it's not worth it.
I've genuinely not even spoken to
absolute bollocks.
Sean about deals or anything.
There's no way Sean would throw Fire Emblem under the bus like James did for him. I just can't see it happening.
Judgment versus Disco Elysium.
James, I'm sorry, mate. It's Disco Elysium.
James?
Of course it's Judgment, isn't it?
Matt?
It's Disco Elysium all day long. Sorry, James.
Oh, Dave, don't be difficult. Please.
Oh, this is hard.
Oh, God.
It's not, though, is it? Go on.
No, this is actually hard.
Okay, well, tell us why it's hard.
Whose dreams you're going to crush?
Yeah, okay, so the reason why it's hard is because going by the discussions we've had tonight, like the stuff that I've seen from Disco, I it's so far and away from stuff that I would enjoy playing. Like if I had the chance to play one tonight, it'd be Judgment.
Yeah. No, I get that because as I say, it looks like a Dragon Sword and Sorcery RPG. But what it really is a point and click adventure, really, but with stats behind it.
I mean, this is not my sort of game at all. I've never played a game like it, and it's like, wow, this is not my sort of game, but I'm immensely happy that I have, and I'm so glad I sort of, and not I was ever like, well, I'm not gonna play that sort of game. It's not mine, but I wouldn't have ever.
Well, I think they've both got big risks for me because I really didn't like the Yakuza series. And this goes so far away from what I usually play that, there's every chance that I'd play and just go, I just can't get into it. But I think...
I don't know, I think the writing, it pulls anyone in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't... Again, this comes down to trust.
Well, ignore Sean, just think about what I'm saying.
All right, okay. I think I need to vote with how we're going to progress through. Because I know that Matt and Sean are not going to change on this one. So I'm going to have to go with Disco Elysium.
Fuck.
Yes, mate.
No, I'm sorry, James. I mean, they're just not going to change on that one based on the fact that I've not played either.
Well, at least this didn't go out in the first round. That's what I'm just happy with it.
I think you gave it a good shout. And you've got me interested in a game that I had no intention of playing at all. So that helps. Tetris 99 versus Life is Strange. This is the semi-final now, by the way.
Oh my god, this is crazy.
This is where it gets. Oh my god. I'm going to do the first vote. I've got to go Life is Strange too.
I am all right with that. Yeah, I agree.
Matt?
What's the choice again? Life is Strange versus what?
Unbelievable. Have you been drinking?
Yes, I have been drinking, yeah. Just not to the extent that James
We've got two pissed people deciding the most important thing that we do all the... Oh, come on.
Life is Strange.
Tetris 99. It was.
Yeah,
up
Life is
against.
Strange. Yeah.
Right, okay. James.
What was it? This is
Oh, James, come on, you're taking a piss now.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, right? Life is Strange.
Yeah, right. Okay, Life is Strange. Tetris has gone. Shame. Brilliant game.
Yeah.
Mario Maker 2. Disco Elysium.
A disco again. Sorry.
Matt.
Disco.
I'm voting Mario Maker 2.
Oh no.
James.
Mario Maker 2.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Here we
Come on, judgment's out. No, I don't give a shit. Go on.
What do you mean?
I can't vote for Disco. I've not played it, and I've played Mario Maker, so I'm sticking with Mario Maker.
James, you would fucking love Disco Elysium, man.
I'm sure I would, but Mario Maker 2 was good.
Yeah, I know it was good. But Disco Elysium's better. That's it. Okay, that's your response.
What are we up to now? Because I'm confused. Are we on semi-finals or what? I'm confused.
Semis, yeah.
Fucking hell, James.
I'm fine. Don't worry about
I mean,
it.
it's
Give
quite,
me a
it's,
little
it's
bit of
really apt
confidence
that
that you're not going to just switch for a game you've never played.
Well, because the thing is, I don't really want to switch away from Mario Maker 2 because it was genuinely brilliant, especially the single player.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It's quite apt that Matt and I, in order to get Disco Elysium through, are relying on the help of someone who is pissed.
Oh no, it's ridiculous.
I feel like the developers
himself.
You said
developers would
it
really
cut out when you said,
appreciate
Tetris.
Yeah, of course it did.
He's just merry.
It cut out
It's
for the
fine.
first 3 hours of this show, did it?
No, because I heard you slag off Outer Wilds. It's annoying. James, you should switch. Disco Elysium is stunning.
Please, James.
I don't want to.
I know you don't want to. I didn't want to switch away from Outer Wilds, but I did it. For Unity.
But
That's a
James,
very good point.
how can you possibly be in a position to switch away from a game you love to a game you've never played?
Well, exactly. You see, I've got nothing else in this, have I now? So
James,
it's like,
leap of faith, James.
What do you mean you've got nothing
on.
else in this?
James, do you want to be a hero?
no.
James, what do you mean? What do you mean you've got nothing else in this?
Okay, well, I've got obviously Life is Strange 2.
Yeah,
but...
exactly. You got a game in the final, mate.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And could you imagine that, right? So you know when we get to the final, they're going to be twice as bad. Like, they will not-
James, that's why you should put Disco. It's like, let's have two
look,
incredibly
can we
written
just-
games in the final.
Can we just back up here a bit, right? What games are left?
Okay, right. In the final
Fellow listeners
already,
probably need this at this
Life
point.
is Strange 2 is already in the
my
final.
confidence is gone.
Life is Strange 2 is in the final. That's locked in. And now it's this.
Mario Maker 2 versus Disco. But the problem is, if Disco goes up against Life is Strange 2, you know that's going to be a fucking nightmare because they really want it to be our game of the year. So you might as well make sure that it doesn't go through now.
Well, no,
He's not
that's not
making
the
sure-
attitude. It's about what the best game
Yes, it
is.
is. How would you know? You haven't played Mario Maker 2.
James, you want to go to bed? Say Disco Elysium.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to go to bed.
I'm not bothered. I've
You
finished
want
the
to go to a
bottle.
club.
You have finished the bottle. Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
James,
Yeah.
choose Disco because when you, again, play it in the new year on console, you'll be like, why the hell did I choose Mario Maker 2?
James, stay strong.
You let us down on Outer Wilds.
Yeah, at least,
Stay strong, mate.
at least choose this, James.
Stay strong.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is Mario Maker versus Disco Elysium.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the round.
Yeah,
Life is
that's
Strange 2 is already in the final.
He's back in the room. He's back.
Right?
Life is Strange is in the
back in-
final.
Can you just try and persuade David for a bit? I need to think about it.
No, Dave's not going to listen.
Absolutely no way am I switching.
We're never going to persuade him.
I did it last year and I regretted it for the rest of the year.
James,
It's an awful
this is your time to
feeling.
step up, dude.
It's an awful feeling knowing that you're switching for a game that you've never it just you can't do it, James. Come on, stay strong.
Don't
Well-
tell him what he can and can't do. James,
What you
Don't
that's
let him
exactly
tell
what
you.
you're doing.
James, you're your own man. Don't listen to Dave. Like, this is time to actually strike against Dave and do what you want to do. AKA, I think you'd love Disco Elysium. Like I said, Sean and I thought about you all the time playing this. Like, you would love this so much.
Yeah, but James, they're going to do this for the next one as well. Do you want a game that wins this that you've never played?
I don't know, not really.
Exactly. Don't change. Sean, just change to Mario Maker.
no, absolutely not.
That's the highest I've ever heard you talk. So, right, can I just we know Life is Strange is in the final, so you two are going to vote Disco, and we're going to vote Life is Strange.
Deadlock.
So what is the fucking point?
Well, let's get Mario Maker out of the conversation. Get Disco in the final, then we'll talk.
Let's not do that.
No, I think we should do it.
Why not?
Because
wouldn't it be amazing, like, to have the final of 2 incredibly written video games?
Yeah.
Mario Maker is like mechanically one of the best games ever made. It's brilliant.
I'm sure it is.
James,
I'm interested to play it, but
James,
Yeah. What?
if you switch, I think you should. I think maybe you should switch.
Why?
Right, hear me out. You switch this round. The next round, we just don't budge.
All right. Okay, go on, do that then. Go on.
Thank you, James.
Mario
Appreciate
Maker's
that.
gone. The final is Life is Strange 2 versus Disco Elysium.
what a final.
Yeah, like, to be absolutely clear, obviously everything I've said about Disco Elysium, I am really thrilled that Life is Strange 2 has made it to the final, because, as we've said countless
fucking
times
brilliant.
of the last year, like, it's been fucking infuriating how people have not paid attention to this game. Especially after the first
Disco
one
Elysium?
was so
Are you
big.
mental? Everyone's going about it all the time.
No, Life is Strange.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's been infuriating that, after the first one was so big, just for whatever reason, people have not been bothered about the second one. And obviously, we've had all the conversations about the release schedule. It's not been great. But yeah, like, whatever happens, I am very pleased that these 2 games have made it to the final.
Okay. Which way are you voting, James?
For which one?
Life is Strange 2 or Disco Elysium?
Honestly,
Life is Strange 2 or Disco
I thought we
Elysium?
were still on the other one.
James is not of sound
The
mind.
other one? Which way are you voting? James, which way are you voting?
Life is Strange, obviously.
Matt, which way are you voting?
I mean, well, out of the 2, Disco Elysium.
Sean?
Disco Elysium, yeah.
Right, I'm voting Life is Strange. We're at deadlock again.
Here we go.
Woo. You've got the chance to just end this now, because there is 0% chance that James or I am going to change our vote.
David, don't speak for James. James is his own man. He can change if he wants.
James, are you going to switch? Are you going to vote for Disco Elysium as our game of the year?
Fuck no. Why would I do that?
Exactly.
Because it is the best game of the year. So okay, so James is obviously not of sound mind
I'm
anymore.
fine.
So I think
I'm
we just remove him from the voting process.
Yeah, at this point, James doesn't know what day it is, so
I do. Everything's fine.
James, what day is it, James?
Sunday.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You win. You win this round.
we go again in 5 minutes' time.
Can we have a bathroom break though?
I think that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
What's going on? Okay, right.
Life is Strange 2 versus Disco.
Recording a podcast, James.
Okay,
Brilliant. Let's do it.
Right. This is where you can. Right, then. Okay, where are we going to go?
So, James, how are you feeling about Life is Strange?
I'm feeling very good about Life is Strange, and there's no way I'm going to change my vote. Sorry.
What's it going to take to switch?
Matt, there's nothing you can give me. We're in the final now.
No. Okay, right. How about 2020?
He's worked out what stage it is. That's
Yeah,
It is the final, right?
yeah.
No, this is round 1. No, right. How about 2020, James? I will support your first choice in 2020.
I don't believe you, Matt. Anything you say, I don't believe you. I'm still not convinced you weren't the one who cut the poll.
I did not. Like I would do that. I'm livid about that.
When we were talking about the whole, I can't remember, what was it? Life is Strange versus Outer Wilds. It's just when Matt goes, oh no, I'll vote for that on the next one. You just know that wasn't going to happen.
When have I let you down on that?
Constantly. Stole cereal from my child.
Here we go. It's all coming back now.
I think there's part of me that's kind of like, oh my god. I as much as I think Life is Strange should be our game of the year, I'm kind of disappointed that, like, I'm not disappointed that it is. I'm just kind of like, I know people will look at that and go, ugh. Because not a lot of people. fucking...
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to look at it and go, yeah, you've been banging on about it all year, we know.
I do wish I played Disco Elysium.
Mm-hmm. And I totally get why you've not been able to. As I say, it's formatted.
Well, I haven't got a PC to play it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I haven't got a PC to play it, and I will definitely play it when it comes out on Xbox. Am I starting?
Oh, come on.
Come on, Dave. There's no way you can change. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there is. Every reason you can.
No, look, we can't do this. This is one of the best games this year.
You would fucking love Disco Elysium, man. It's got so many interesting things to say about things that are really important to you. Like, you would find it so fascinating, honestly. But
it's only on PC, isn't it?
Yeah, so far.
You said that with such venom. Is it coming to Switch?
No,
I
it's
don't
PS4
think so,
it's
no.
coming to, though.
That's a shame, man. It should come to Switch.
It should. I think all the text would be a bit of a piss.
Yeah,
Mind
that's
you,
it,
they've
yeah, that's
converted loads of other like similar RPGs. So
Yeah, just make the text bigger, innit?
exactly. Easy. Come on, guys. Come on.
Look, Dave, look, we cannot budge on this. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you
we
can.
We did a whole
Easiest
fucking
thing in the world. Just say the
about
words.
this.
We've done a podcast on lots of things.
Absurd.
The writing is impeccable. Impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, but the writing in fucking Life is Strange is impeccable as well.
Oh, not in the same way. And don't get me wrong, I love the fact like the writing is really good in Life is Strange 2. And again, it doesn't shy away from having opinions about
give me an
difficult
example.
subjects.
Give me an example in Disco Elysium.
Honestly, it would take so long to get into it. It's right, like the history.
You've spoken about it for about 8 hours in this podcast. All we've got is the writing is good. That's all we've had from you.
The background of the world, right, that you're in. You're in this country or so city called Revachol, and basically you learn all about the history of it. And that basically it was a monarchy, and the monarchy was like fucking insane and corrupt. So it was overthrown by communists, and then. And that sort of lasted for, I think it's like 20, 30 years, something like that. And then the rest of the world went like, nah, you're not doing that. And then this other, like most of the other countries are ruled by basically the moralists who are kind of, sort of liberal centrists. And they essentially just went, right, fuck that, you're getting invaded. You're not allowed to be communists because that's not how we work. So we're not doing it. And then, so then you sort of come into this in that, like, everything's been taken over by the moralists, but there's this spectre of this sort of failed communist revolution sort of lives on and has all these, like, fascinating impacts on the world, and it's just absolutely fascinating the way it plays out and the way people talk about it. Like, there's people, still living who, like, there's these two old guys who are playing pétanque, the French, sort of bowling game, and like one of them was a devout royalist, and the other one was, I think, was he a communist, Matt? I can't remember.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and they're just like these two old guys who are they're still bickering about this war that happened like 80 years ago, but they're all they've got. Right, they're still friends, even though they kind of despise each other because they're like the last two, and they just spend all day just shouting shit at each other and having a go at each other because they still they're so entrenched in their own viewpoint, and it's just like the world is like you're in this sort of this one bit of the city that has just kind of been left to rot. Right, there's like this power vacuum. There's 2 police precincts. And no one, and they've been arguing over whose territory it is, and as a result, neither of them have bothered really policing it. Which is when like this like dock workers union has sort of risen to power and fulfilled that role. And again, it's this sort of uneasy, difficult thing because they're kind of like a organised criminal organization, but also they're they're the only people looking after people in the area. Like it's all people have got, and they do, it makes a point of showing like they do take care of people, but they probably are also quite corrupt. And there's no easy answers to anything in it. It's, again, I say, without spoiling it, you do get a sense of where the developers are actually coming from and what sort of viewpoint they agree with, but it's kind of up to you, like what sort of path you choose and how people respond to you accordingly. Like the fact that you are a police officer, right? So I was a police officer, and I was, I'm incredibly left leaning, so the game marked me out as a communist. And people sort of challenge you on it. It's like, yeah, but you're a fucking cop. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. And it overall makes this point that it's like the world will, and especially in light of the general election we've just had, it's very much like you can be as left-leaning as you want. The world will not allow it because that's not the system. And it is like the game's viewpoint is that it is impossible to break out of that. And but it's told in such a way that it doesn't come across as futile. It's not saying don't bother. It's just, I don't know. It's yeah. You need to play it, man. It's so fucking good.
Okay. Well, I mean, having said all that, and and you're right. I do need to play it, but I haven't played it. And I think when I look at, sometimes it's easy to focus in and fight your cause when we're doing these Game of the Year shows. And it is personal. Like, everyone's got their own personal game in this fight. But when I think about Game of the Year and what it means as a collective rather than our individual choices. Like, I think that if there's one game that represents the show and over the past year, right, then it is Life is Strange 2. And as much as you enjoyed Disco Elysium, like, I fucking adored Life is Strange 2. And my biggest fear was that final episode was going to be a fucking mess, or it was going to miss something, or it was going to aim for like action throughout the whole thing, and it just didn't. And what it did was gave one of the most powerful endings I've had in a game. I said on the show that I care more about Daniel than I have any other character in pretty much any video game ever, right? And then when I think back over the past year that we've played this game and the excitement we got from talking to each other about it and going over our choices and recording those spoiler casts, for me, I feel way more comfortable with Life is Strange 2 being our Game of the Year than a game that two of us haven't played. I'm not saying Life is Strange 2 is a better game. I can't say that because I haven't played Disco. So, that's not what this is about. What we're doing is picking a game that sort of represents the past year as TCGS. And when you look at it on that level, I think the choice is obvious.
I agree with David.
You say
there
that.
He is.
You say that,
He's
James,
awake.
but you have just texted me, I don't know what's going on.
But I do agree with you.
So I am holding my hand out and saying, look, I get it. It. You both had an emotional connection to this game and you fucking love it. And it's your Game of the Year other than Outer Wilds, which was Matt's Game of the Year. And we've acknowledged that, and you've spoken about Disco Elysium with enough passion to make sure you get that point across. You've done that. But when we're talking about our Game of the Year this year, it might not have been my first point, but the process that we go through with these shows we always end up with something we wouldn't expect to win it.
A slightly uneasy compromise.
yeah, and that's what it's about, right? Like, because we're all trying to get our games through, but at the same time, the way this works, there is a compromise. Like, Life is Strange 2 was one of my favourite games of the year, but I voted Luigi's Mansion over it because I thought Luigi's Mansion is probably my favourite game that I've played this year. Untitled Goose Game up there as well.
Yeah. But
here we are. I think fair play with the Disco Elysium stuff. But I think Life is Strange 2 is our game of the year.
And to be clear, as I say, I really appreciate that Life is Strange 2, again, it's got a point to make. It's not shying away.
Fucking hell, has it? And not only that, like, there's constant surprises as well. Like the drip feeding of where did your mother go? What did she do? And you go, I know where they're going with this, and I really don't like it. Yeah. And they just go, no. I mean, that decision alone was mind-blowing when you think about it. They must have thought at one point during development, we need to make this a little bit more of a moment.
Should we put a spoiler warning on this?
No, because that's not, like,
okay.
We won't say what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I'm saying is that, like, it would be so easy to go down one path with it, and especially when there might have been lackluster sales at the start of the series or whatever, they might have been freaking out about it and think, no, we need to add more action in to sort of try and catch people's eye. And they still didn't do that. They still had an interesting angle on it. Like a way more interesting angle if they just went for the obvious. And man, sitting in that car in front of that wall, that's
and as I say, in the the year of developers and publishers denying that their games are political in any way, I'm really proud that we've got 2 games in the final that are entirely unashamed about what it is they're trying to say.
Absolutely.
Because I think this year is incredibly important.
So all that being said, then, Sean, Matt he's at lost cause.
Well, is he? I mean, Matt, I had to shame myself on Outer Wilds. Are you going to do the dirty?
I think that's fair. I mean, I've loved both his games. I definitely think Disco Elysium is the better of the 2. But you took a bullet for Outer Wilds, Sean, so I'll take a bullet for this one. And,
cool. Thank you.
And I'll switch my choice to Life is Strange 2.
Hooray.
Fucking hell, what a turncoat. Right. I'm joking.
Remember this next year, right?
So that confirms it then. The computer game show's game of the year for 2019 is Life is Strange 2.
Yes.
I'm alright with that.
Some people listening to this might have thought that was obviously going to happen. I'll be honest with you, I didn't.
No, not at all.
There's no way I thought that would be game of the year. Not no way. I mean, they're all fucking great games, and this one was brilliant. But I am surprised that it made it all the way through.
Yeah, I didn't think it would get this far, actually.
Fucking deserves it, though, man. What an experience that's been.
Yeah, it's been great.
It was good.
It's, like I say, the fact that it actually surpasses the first one, which we all loved. I'm comfortable. I'm happy.
So we're done.
We are done.
Let me just say this has been some incredible year. From not being on the show for a long period of time to listening to it and seeing it from a listener's point of view and fucking really enjoying it, to the live shows, to the Patreon launch, to everyone that supported us by either whacking a review on iTunes or turning around to a friend and saying, check out the computer game show. It's been another phenomenal year. And we really appreciate everything you guys do for us when, as listeners. be that just download the show or stuff you do on Twitter or in our Discord, or coming to our live shows or supporting on Patreon. You just make it all worthwhile. And, we adore doing this show. And to know there's people that really like listening to it as well is just, it's an incredible feeling. We're going to take a break. Not too long. James is off to China. If he's sobered up by then.
It's fine.
How bad is it, James?
It's totally fine.
Are you going to work? Are you going to work tomorrow?
I am, yeah.
Oh my God!
Hell.
My word.
Good luck with that, mate.
It's fine.
But I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say, have a fantastic Christmas, a great New Year, and we promise that we'll be back in January with honestly, we're just going to go for it again next year.
Yeah, I think we're about mid-Jan, right? By the time James gets back and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's mid-Jan, so probably like the 15th.
I would say keep your eyes out for things. Is that fair to say?
That's
we're not going to...
Yeah.
We're going to do streams and stuff like that, and there might be a few surprises along the way. So we're not done. We're not going away for a while. It's just TCGS is going to be off for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So,
When's this going up, Matt? Is it Wednesday as usual, or? Okay, cool. Well, you missed my stream last night. Sorry.
There's a Star Wars film out on Thursday. That's got to happen at some point.
So
thanks for living it
tomorrow, yeah? Is that right?
No, we're not recording tomorrow.
We're
going to record tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning, James. You going to be ready for that?
Can't wait.
Thanks for living it. We'll catch you next year.
Yeah, thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Goodbye.
Don't no one else saying goodbye, is it just me and okay.
Goodbye.
There he is.
What are you talking about? It's fine.